Hello and welcome. We are live here at Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, the eastern suburbs of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for what should be a playoff preview. It is definitely a playoff matchup from last season. It's the Penn Hills Indians hosting the Gateway Gators here on YouTube and the Trib Live High School Sports Network. Vince Russo, Spencer Witt. We're just seconds away from kickoff. Spencer, it's good to have you back with us this season.
It's good to be back. It's been a long time coming since we've both been on the mic for a match, for a game.
We have a couple Colonial alums here, and we get to bring you a great matchup tonight. And Spencer, youth on both sides of the ball, a couple sophomore quarterbacks. Real quick before we kick off, what do you expect from tonight's contest?
Well, I think it will be the battle between the quarterbacks. Both sophomores. You see Bradley Birch, for a Gateway, and on the other side for Penn Hills, it's the quarterback for them as well, Julian Duggar, and I think that will be the difference between these sides. How will their composure match up against a defense for Penn Hills that I think needs to really make a statement, along with a Gateway defense that struggled against Thomas Jefferson early on, especially in the running game. How can they stop the running game and then force Duggar to make the plays in the air?
Absolutely. Should be a really great contest tonight. We're excited to bring it to you here live, as we said, in Penn Hills. These two teams started the season ranked in the top 5 in 5A. Gateway, after the loss last week to Thomas Jefferson, slips to number 2. Penn Hills coming off a season-opening loss, 48-7 against Central Catholic. Granted, that's one of the best programs this side of the state, but they drop out of the top 5. We'll see if they can nudge their way back in with a win over the Gators, or will it be Gateway taking the win tonight? The kick is off, and we are underway. It is Brett Birch back to receive, takes the ball at the 8-yard line, gets up over the 20 to 25. It looks like he'll be stopped at about the 27-yard line. So there the Birch brothers and the rest of the Gators offense will go to work, going right to left on your screen, wearing the white uniforms, black numerals, black pants, and gold helmets on the other side, looking to make a statement early, as Spencer said. The Penn Hills Indians in the all-red uniforms and helmets with the gold numerals. We're underway here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here, whether you're tuned in on YouTube or the Trib Live High School Sports Network. Should be a good one tonight. Shotgun snap, delay draw going nowhere. Wallop to start the game, and the carry there goes to number 2 for the Gators. It's going to be Jaquan Reynolds, the sophomore.
You see Penn Hills only putting 5 under pressure on the line there, but getting by that offensive line for the Gators and making that stop and that delayed handoff.
So a loss of 4 will bring up 2nd and long here, as once again they'll go with a 4-receiver set, 2 on both sides. Reynolds once again in the backfield. And Birch operating out of the shotgun. Now they'll fake the run. They're going to go deep over the middle. They have a man open, and it's right through the hands. Drops were an issue last week. And again this week, a surefire touchdown goes through the hands of a Gateway Gators receiver. This time it was Inez Jordan.
Jordan on the slot on the right side of the screen, cuts into the middle right by that 50-yard line. Beat his defenders. No help over the top for Penn Hills. He got by both of them, but could not haul that one in. And like you said, Vince, if he hauls that in, he is gone. He is touching the red part of the end zone for Penn Hills, and it would have been a 6-0 game early on.
So as it stands after the drop, 3rd and 14. Gators will go to the air again. It's time to throw. Birch moves up in the pocket. Now he's going to take off and run, but he's not going to get enough. He'll get back to the original down and distance and a little further. Looks like it'll bring up 4th and about 8. And the punt team will come on for the Gators here as they stall on their first drive.
Yeah, Penn Hills escaping here after almost giving up a touchdown, but it was dropped. But they do really well in the defense here, forcing Birch to make the run. And you see the spy taking him down, number 9 for Penn Hills. That's Alan Parker, who was looking at the quarterback the whole time, wrapped him up on the legs, and brought him only back to the line of scrimmage.
So snap is good. The punt is up. This one wobbles and hangs in the air. Fair catch taken in at about the 40-yard line. Almost dropped, but secured by number 19. That'll be DeAndre Cochran, the sophomore. He will help the Indians set up shop with pretty good field position for their first offensive possession.
And we'll see what Penn Hills does on offense. Again, Lost their first game of the season to Central Catholic, and a team that they were not able to really score against, the Vikings. But you'll see Duggar here for the Indians, how he will do on his first drive of this Friday evening.
Duggar, a mobile quarterback, rushed for 50 yards in the playoff contest last season. It'll be a design quarterback run to start here, as he'll get a little bit of traction, but he's wrapped up quickly as Matthew Brooks, the 6'2", 255-pound junior, came around the end and took care of that before it got too far. Looks like a gain of about 3.
Yeah, that was a nice play by Penn Hills. They easily crashed to the left side. A couple guys, number 55, getting around. No blocker on him, and he took the quarterback down.
So 2nd and 7 upcoming here. Just about 90 seconds into this one, no score. Ball at the 45-yard line. Penn Hills looking to get into enemy territory. And again, they'll keep it on the ground, but nothing going this time. A couple Gators quickly en route to the ball carrier. And that's Maytel Mitchell on the carry. He was brought down quickly. Not a whole lot going on there. You see a Gator right in the backfield. Amari Haynes blew that one up initially.
Yeah, and you see 43 for a Gateway. That was Lewis Douglas, who came in from the linebacker position, stayed to his left, stayed home for that running back, but he also had himself in a position where he could have taken the quarterback if it was a keeper on the right side, and he's able to make the stop on the running back.
So now it's the Indians' turn for 3rd and long. They'll go to the air for the first time tonight. That ball just a bit high. Looking to go outside, had a man open along the sideline there. That was Jaden Duggar. So the brother-to-brother connection, which we have that on both sides of the ball tonight. The Birch brothers and the Duggar brothers. And no connection for either team here to start. It's both teams with a 3 and out. And so now Birch, the aforementioned wide receiver Brett, will be back. His heels are at about the 29-yard line. Gators will try and field this one and set themselves up with good field position. High snap. That one goes over the head of the punter. He's back en route. He's going to have to take off. Has a lane, but Gators closing in quickly. And the turnover will set the Gators up with pristine field position. They'll be just outside of the red zone as the snap went over Charlie Rosemeyer's head, and he had to just pick it up and run for dear life. And, well, Spencer, he didn't get too far.
Yeah, it's a bad snap, and he has to already go 10 yards, 15 yards behind him, and you see the Gators closing in on him. Thought maybe he could get around the edge there for a minute, but the Gators swamped all over him, and big field position. This is a play that I think Gateway is really excited about. This could be a huge break for the Gators after that drop pass that should have been a touchdown to start this game.
Gators got great field position off of a special teams turnover early last week against Thomas Jefferson. Had a couple open shots to the end zone that were overthrown. They had to settle for a field goal. See if they can come away with 6 this time. They'll go back to the air. Birch, though, is swamped early. We've got a flag on the play, but as it stands, looks like it's going to be a loss of 4. And that was a big story last week. Not a lot of protection for Birch. The line did not do a good enough job against Thomas Jefferson to give him time to throw.
Man, it's tough for Birch because when you're in a situation like that, you got to make those quick plays. Saw a player on the near side here, was wide open, put a hand up. Birch just couldn't get it to him in time. Got to chip away. Yes, you're only at the 30-yard line. You want to go deep. You want to look for those big plays. You see a holding on Gateway, and it's those situations where take the quick route to the left. Look at him on the screen. You see him looking on the far side. He's looking for a farther deeper down the field, about 20 yards instead of 5, where you had an open man, and Penn Hills just able to take him down first.
They have those home run hitters, but it's a great point. If you can't get the ball to them, doesn't much matter. Now, first in a country mile, back to the 38-yard line the Gators are. They got to get to the 14, so call it 1st and 24. Incomplete pass there. That one just a little too high and through the hands of Brett Birch. And so that'll bring up 2nd and 25 for the Gators. Once again, another big thing from last week. They fell behind the sticks early, made for tough sledding on offense.
Yeah, just out of the reach again for Birch, as we see on the replay there. That should have been, if that's a better ball, Birch is able to catch that one just out of the reach. And you can make the argument, yeah, Nez Jordan dropped it, but it was a little bit too far for him. He's got to pull that in, but still, Birch just a little bit off on his passes.
Going deep once again, a man, it's Bodie. Bodie collects it, and he's in the end zone. That's a touchdown. The Cincinnati recruit gets over the top of the defense, and Spencer, they kept looking for that deep ball, and finally they find it. A 38-yard connection from Birch to Bodie.
Yeah, we've seen Gateway get behind the Penn Hills DBs, as you see on the replay. Birch looking all the way downfield. Bodie cutting in from the right side into the middle, getting past the DBs. And you see number 11 for Penn Hills. That's Jaden Duggar. He's wondering, where's his help? He's the underneath man. He needs some more help on that backside, as he is going to have to let the Gateway receiver go by him momentarily, stay with him, but he didn't have any over-the-top help, and that's the difference for Gateway.
So Cole Plaxon will look to make it 7. Snaps a little high, but brought down quickly. Kick is up and good. So Gateway strikes first off the turnover. They had to go backwards before forwards, but a 38-yard touchdown pass from Birch to Bodie, and that extra point from Plaxon. Take another look at that touchdown pass.
Now you saw in the corner of your screen Bodie make that cut into the left, getting around the DB, and that was the other help. You see 11 putting his hands up, wondering how you got beat that badly and where is the help protection. And we saw that for several passes for Penn Hills, or for Gateway, excuse me. The first pass that dropped from Jordan, there was no help over the top. You see a pass like that, there's no DB help as well. So Gateway's really got to kind of sharpen up in their defense, especially past the line for the Indians.
A beautiful night tonight. 65 degrees, humid, but a nice breeze rolling through at 13 miles an hour. We're approaching sunset here within probably the next 40 or so minutes. But as it stands, normally it's a little warmer. That week 0 game was about 90 degrees, but the last couple weeks it's been cool, temperate, and starting to feel like fall.
Yeah, fall weather and football weather, to say the least, here in western Pennsylvania.
Plaxon gives this one the boot. It wobbles at around the 20, is not collected initially. Finally, they get the ball at the 5-yard line. They'll catch the edge. And the ball carrier steps out before getting a few more yards, but Amir Rollins, turning what looked like was going to be nothing into something there, caught the edge, used the burners, and got himself up over the 30-yard line.
Now Rollins with that speed, and like you said, from the left side to the right, giving potentially Penn Hills a little bit of a boost here. They really need it after the bad snap on the punt and the play here, or the touchdown for Gateway as well. So this is something that I think Penn Hills would really try and work on here. And you don't need a touchdown right now. Yes, it's 7-0, but you need productive yards, especially after that first drive for the Indians. You need something here. A first down at least would be critical for this Indians team.
This is an Indians team that really struggled to score last season. See if they can put together something here on that first possession. The ball actually spotted at the 28. It was a 23-yard return. The first down run doesn't gain them much of anything, and so it'll be 2nd and it looks like 9 upcoming for the Indians.
And again, Penn Hills getting stopped on the run. You can open up, or if you can run the ball, you can open up the passing. Penn Hills not able to do that right now, but we'll see what they can do in the shotgun with a running back, 2 quarterbacks left.
4 receivers set. See if Duggar goes to the air. He'll keep it. Gains a little bit of a crease, and that will move him up over the 30-yard line. Looks like they'll spot him down at about the 30, between the 32 and the 33, so it brings up 3rd and manageable.
And watch the replay here. I was wondering how long it would take before they fake. You see 2, 3 guys going for that running back for the Gators, and instead it was Duggar who took it himself and got some productive yards on him.
So Penn Hills looks to move the chains, keep this drive going. So we are at 7 minutes, 45 seconds left here in our opening quarter of play. Shotgun snap, Duggar back to pass. Again, looking to go out toward the sidelines. Again, well overthrown. And the punt team will come back out. A 2nd consecutive 3-and-out for the Indians.
And not a good look for Penn Hills there, as you saw Duggar looking immediately to his left. I mean, he was looking at one wide receiver, no doubt. He'd take a look. Watch, he turns his head immediately. He's looking for 22 there. And even then, you throw that ball to him, you still need 6-7 yards on that pass. You got a DB on the receiver that entire time. He's not going to give him at least a couple of more yards. So need a little bit more offenses. Another high snap for Penn Hills.
Rosemeyer able to get this one away, but only barely. It takes a fortuitous bounce for the Indians, but as it stands, it'll still be good field position once again for the Gators, who get the ball right at their own 40-yard line. So they've got 60 yards to pay dirt here with about 7.5 minutes to play in the opening frame.
And that snap was over Rosemeyer's head. A dangerous snap again for Penn Hills. This time, though, he was able to catch it and get it off. Big opportunity, though, for Gateway to extend their lead, as they're the offense that so far has at least worked, or at least looked like it's worked, with a few kinks in their offense, particularly long passes and just out of the reach and drops. But the offense looks like it is working as it should.
See if the Gators can follow up after the 38-yard touchdown pass from Birch to Patrick Bodie. They'll start with the pass once again over the top. They've got a man open. He's able to make the first tackler miss, but can't keep his balance. And getting down the field is Dallas Harper. That's going to net them just about 40 yards, or rather 24 yards on the reception. Harper so close to being able to start off to the races there, but just tripped up.
And it's that same route for the receivers. In the slot, 10 yards, cut in towards the center of the field, and they beat their DB, and there's no help over the top for Penn Hills.
Fresh set of downs, fake the screen, good defense there. Penn Hills takes away the first option, and from there, Birch just has to try to make something happen with his legs, and nothing going there.
Yeah, credit to Penn Hills. They read that play immediately, seeing that wide receiver on the far side. Taking a look, watch 11 there, immediately for Penn Hills, going over towards the Gateway Gator, who the intended target was for. And then the defensive line for Penn Hills stepping up and forcing Birch to not get much yards.
So they'll actually lose half a yard. It'll be 2nd and 11. Play clock at 15. Gators send a man in motion. Fake the handoff once again. They'll go over the top once again. That went into traffic. Did it get intercepted? It did. Penn Hills comes away with the turnover. That's DeAndre Cochran coming up with the pass there as Birch tried to thread the needle between a couple defenders.
And what did I tell you, Vince? Over-the-top coverage for Penn Hills. You see Cochran step up and get in front of that ball. Another look on your screen. See him over the top. That ball's a little bit too high. We've seen Birch have some issues kind of overthrowing his passes, and that one is finally picked off by Penn Hills. They finally recognize it's a route in the middle, overstep it like he did, and he picked that one off for Penn Hills.
Maybe the only silver lining for the Gators is they do pin the Indians deep. They take over at their own 15-yard line. They'll operate out of the gun. 3 receivers to the left of Duggar. They'll try to go at the quarterback keeper here. Still nothing going whatsoever. Duggar swamped immediately. Getting into the backfield is Jaden Manigault.
Great play by Manigault. Staying home, taking another look. Immediately, he's going to look always at the quarterback. Saw it was the fake and saw the quarterback was going to the left side. Stayed with him, pulled him down, and a loss of yards for the Indians.
Matthew Brooks and Hunter Dow also getting in on the tackle, as that will bring up 2nd and long, 13 to be exact. It's Penn Hills going nowhere fast offensively. Can they make the Gators pay for the turnover? Another run, another gang tackle from the Gators, and again, going backwards is this Indians offense early on.
And look how many people are stacking the box for Gateway. I think there was at least 7 guys in that box for the Gators, as it's another run play. They're going to look on your screen. Again, 4 or 5 guys getting to that rusher for Gateway. You got to air it out a little bit. At least kind of throw the ball just to keep Gateway back, keep them home, and make sure that they're not going to be crashing that box again. 3rd and 15. I mean, this has got to be aired out, right?
You'd think so. Aiden Smith, Carson Engelke in then on that tackle. Another pass that's a bit high. That one tipped, and no down the field throws. Trying to connect on the dink and dunk. That one went for Rayon Strader, but it's just a bit too high. Bounces off of the fingertips, and now they send the punt unit back out, and Charlie Rosemeyer has had an eventful first quarter, and he's got to punt this out of his own end zone.
Same 3 plays for the Indians, 2 drives in a row. Rush, look to the left and throw it to that guy on the check down. For Penn Hills, Gateway's watching it the whole time. They got to mix it up a little bit more, either throw on first down or something different for the Indians. And Rosemeyer's had 2 punts or 2 snaps go over his head. He caught the second one. This is a better snap, though.
He'll get rid of that one. And a high winding punt. Birch didn't call for the fair catch and gets walloped right at the 40-yard line, but importantly enough, keeps a hold of the ball. In there on the tackle is Cochran for the Indians. But nonetheless, the Gators go to work here with 4:41 in the first quarter with the ball in enemy territory. It'll be spotted right at the 40-yard line.
And we see I was expecting a fair catch, and Penn Hills, I think, kind of did as well. They pulled up just a little bit. So Birch just able to hold on to that one instead of Penn Hill rusher running right at him and taking him down. But in offensive territory for the Gators, will we see that slant in the middle for another pass?
Now keep it on the ground. That's Reynolds. Reynolds finds a crease. He'll get the ball down to about the 27-yard line. Make that a gain of 13 yards. So good enough to move the chains.
Yeah, there's no one in the 5-yard territory right there for Penn Hills. It's only 1 or 2 guys because all those DBs are so far back. They're expecting that pass. So great play call for the Gators with the run on first down.
See if they can establish the run, something they really haven't been able to do yet this season. Play action there. Birch ducks away, finds an open man in the end zone, and that's Bodie once again. A great job. Birch able to make the adjustment, step up in the pocket, and deliver the strike to the end zone, and the Gators are on the board once again.
There wasn't a red jersey within 15 yards of Bodie, as a big miscue for the Indians and Gateway making Penn Hills pay. And how can you leave Bodie open that badly? Something must have gone wrong for Penn Hills. Either it was a miss or it was a play wasn't broadcasted well. It wasn't, I don't know what the words are. Vince, I'm losing it here. But assignment wasn't full. Everybody didn't have their assignments for Penn Hills. Is you can't have a receiver that badly open and expect to win this game, to be honest.
No, I hear you. There's definitely been a few lapses, and as you said, it wasn't that Bodie had a step.
No.
He was completely by himself in the end zone.
No, someone didn't either stay with him or someone didn't drop back in coverage for Penn Hills.
So the extra point up and good makes it 14-0. We take a look at Gateway's schedule thus far. A victory over Delaware Valley, a narrow defeat over Thomas Jefferson, and really, we talked about it off the air, Spencer, but a tough front end of the schedule and then maybe some tune-up games before the playoffs. What are your thoughts when you look at this schedule?
Yeah, they're really running the gauntlet here, especially Bethel Park, Pine Richland, Penn Trafford, 2-0 on the season so far. And then at the end of the schedule for them, Woodland Hills, who has had a loss so far. Connellsville's been struggling, and Franklin Regional's about mid-pack for the Panthers. So, like you're saying, if Gateway can get through this first half, it would be really beneficial for them coming into that second half, especially going into WPIAL playoffs, which has been expanded this year.
It has, going from 8 teams to 12 once again. So, majority of the teams in 5A will qualify for the postseason. Another decent return here for Penn Hills, as once again Rollins taking the ball up. This time he does get over the 30-yard line, it appears. So see if Penn Hills can make some hay off of a couple decent kick returns. Nothing to show for it thus far. See if Duggar and company can get things rolling.
Give Rollins credit. It's been a bit of a bright spot for Penn Hills, as he's making something out of nothing on these kick returns and getting the ball past the 30-yard line here, like you mentioned. Again, I think if you're Duggar, it's got to be a throw. If it's a screen, fine, but it's got to be something that is a completed pass, something for positive yards. This quarterback shotgun, fake run, and then take it himself, it's not working. Timeout will be taken by the Indians before the play gets snapped. And I think that's a good decision for the head coach for Penn Hills.
Timeout. Penn Hills.
Because I think that they didn't like what they were seeing for the Indians on offense there. You saw Gateway immediately was crashing in towards the quarterback right when that play was snapped. So right call to make that timeout because something wasn't right for the Indians on offense.
And it just gives John Ladon and his squad a time to kind of pump the brakes, kind of reassess where things are at. Clearly not the start the Indians had drawn up coming out of the locker room thus far. Spencer, what do they have to do to get themselves back into this contest?
I think they do need to just take a deep breath. I think that this is a good timeout for them and say, we can't expect the same thing every single time and expect it to work. The rush up the middle on the first one, the quarterback keeper on the second down, and then looking to the left side on third down. You got to look to the right. You got to throw down in the slot. You got to do stuff like that to keep Gateway guessing more, because right now they're guessing a test that they have the answers to. And I think that for Penn Hills, the offense, I think, is there per se. I think they have the talent to make those plays. This isn't a Gateway team that's perfect. I think that Penn Hills can definitely move the ball, but they need to mix up the plays a little bit.
See what Coach Ladon and his Indians offense cook up here. Play action, they'll roll out. First completion of the afternoon, or the evening rather, and a few yards after the catch. And so, Spencer, you called it. They delivered the pass to Natel Mitchell. He's got the first down for the evening for Penn Hills.
And that's the best play we've seen from Penn Hills so far tonight. They pulled everybody to the right side, which they had not gone to at all today. So Gateway moves over. A player peels away. Quarterback on a bootleg goes to his left. Nice throw, and he makes the completion.
So that'll move the ball up over the 45 to the 46-yard line. Penn Hills gathers to drop what the next play will be. Duggar and company looking to try and get into enemy territory for the first time this evening. These two teams met just a few years ago, 2019 in the WPIAL final. We take a look at the replay on the completion there to Mitchell. And Spencer, good job there to break away and find some separation after the catch.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Penn Hills is back in their own territory. I think I thought it was a penalty or something. Couldn't hear what the ref said. His microphone wasn't on, but Penn Hills back in their own territory.
I had missed that. So the Indians are back where they started. First and 10, now second and 10 on the incompletion there. Duggar was looking over for Strader, and Rayon Strader unable to come up with that one, as you see a flock of Gateway Gators coming over, including Elijah Heller, who had 2 blocked punts last week and always seems to be making an impact when he's on the field.
Yeah, trying to thread the needle in a hurricane there for Penn Hills, as several Gateway Gators players in the area and only one receiver over there for Penn Hills. It's a tough play, and it was expected from Gateway.
Designed running play here. They'll get some of the yards back up to the 38. Decent crease there and good speed by Amir Rollins. So that'll set up third and manageable.
Another look at this one. Take nice block from number 4, Amir Key. Just keeping number 4 for Gateway out of that lane, Patrick Bodie Jr., and able to stop Patrick Bodie Jr. from making a tackle and some positive yards for the Indians. Now 3rd and 2, and Vince, I'm expecting the play action, the option play for Penn Hills. And I think if you're Penn Hills, you keep someone on the running back and you keep someone on the quarterback this entire time. I think it's going to be a run, but we'll see if they go to that left side on a pass.
Snap is low. Duggar able to corral it. He sees that he has some running room. He takes off, turns on the jets. He's over midfield, down to the 40. And that's a productive 3rd down. He needed 2 and got a whole lot more than that, Spencer. That looked like a bit of a broken play after the drop snap, but you see that athleticism from Duggar.
Yeah, I think it was a broken play, but you're recognizing for Duggar, seeing that open space on the left side of the field, and he's able to get around the edge and get a first down and more yards. And for the first time this evening, I think Penn Hills is in offensive territory for the Indians.
With a little momentum as well. Credit to the Indians. Had their first down taken away from them via penalty. They regroup, get themselves even further down the field, and now it's Amir Key, and he is met right at the line of scrimmage, and a wall of Gateway defenders sent him packing, going backwards. Hunter Dow in on the tackle, amongst many others. Take another look.
And I think even though this is a loss of yards or stopped at the line of scrimmage for Penn Hills, I think that was a much needed first down for the Indians to go 4 different attempts for the Indians and go 3 and out, and stopped again. Especially still, it's early. It's only 2 minutes left in the first quarter, but you need at least something to say that you've had a little bit of offense for the Indians, and so far, this is a good drive for them.
Lewis Douglas laid the boom there to start. Duggar going to send this one up over the top. He's got a man. The catch is made, but out of bounds. A really exceptional effort there by Chase Barney on the outside. At 6'3", he went up and got that one. He just ran out of real estate.
Yeah, you see Barney on the left side of your screen taking a look. Basically was able to moss his defender, jump over number 21, but that ball just a bit too far out. That's the good defensive play by Gateway, though. Kenny Lewis, yes, he got the ball caught over his head, but he recognized where he was at, pushing Barney out of bounds regardless, even though he was going to be out of bounds. You got to look back, though, every once in a while for that ball.
And so it is 3rd down and 10. See if the Indians can convert once again. Duggar only going to get 1 yard this time after pulling it down and trying to do it with his legs. But you're in that unique sort of part of the field where do you go with the offense? It looks like they'll bring the punt team out and try and pin the Gators deep, but thought they might try and go for it.
Good play by Hunter Dow, as you see, pushing that offensive tackle back and then cutting back in once he recognizes that Duggar was rushing for some yardage and took him down before he got to the line of scrimmage.
We have a flag on the play as the snap came in. Looks like a procedural penalty.
And we're going to have a false start on Penn Hills, and I think it was one of the gunners for the Indians that got caught trying to go a little too early, see if they could pin Gateway deep in their own territory.
So that backs the Indians up to the Gators 46, and so once again it'll be Rosemeyer. Birch back deep, the lone return man. A low snap, Rosemeyer corrals it, a nice kick. This one corralled at the 10 rather. Birch able to make the first, couple miss, and then drives into a defender. He's not brought down. I tell you, Spencer, there's been a few plays this year where his progress gets stopped and the whistle blows, but Brett Birch, not an easy guy to pull down there, and that's a decent return there.
And that's because Brett Birch got lower than Cameron Thomas. Taking another look, gets around one defender. Watch Thomas. He's standing straight up. You got to go down. You got to get under him. You got to get low. That's what your coaches tell you all the time. That's the reason why Birch pushed him 5 yards back.
I always appreciate a skill position player who, he wasn't trying to go around. He said, I'm going to go right through you. So that'll set the Gators up at the 24-yard line, looking for a 3rd touchdown. They've scored on their last 2 possessions. They'll hand this one off to Reynolds. Reynolds with a lot of room to run, and for the 2nd straight carry, he gets about 13. He'll move the chains once again. And so the Gators picking up right where they left off. They're off and running.
It's a good offense for Gateway so far. You get the run going. The pass game opens up for the Gators, as you see on the right side. Gets past the first defender and gets a 1st down.
Now a little dump off to Brett Birch, and Birch is swarmed there. A good job by Penn Hills, not getting fooled on the play action, staying at home, and so that will bring up 2nd and 10.
Yeah, Penn Hills, like you said, staying home. They saw Birch roll to his left. And you see the defenders looking at the quarterback, also looking at number 7, Brett Birch, making sure they're playing both of them at the same time. Once it was thrown, they collapsed on Brett Birch.
Go with the screen once again. It's Reynolds. Reynolds able to make a few misses. He's got the sidelines. Now it's a race to the end zone. Reynolds down to the 10, down to the 5, and he's tripped up just before the goal line. But as it stands, it'll be 1st and goal for the Gators at about the 6-yard line.
Oh, Reynolds is frustrated. It was a shoestring tackle from Penn Hills, but take another look. Watch the blocking on the far side or near side of your screen here for the wide receivers. Great blocking. Only one guy can even touch Reynolds before he is down and off to the races and getting knocked down. Credit to number 13. Keith Condon never gave up on the play and was able to trip him up right before he could score.
That will bring us to the end of the 1st quarter and an eventful one here in Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, as we see the Gators jump early and often. A couple quick strikes as we take one more look to the play that bookended this quarter. Reynolds setting the Gators up in position to score their third consecutive touchdown, but as it stands right now, 2 touchdown passes from Brad Birch to Patrick Bodie, one good for 38, one for 27, both extra points up and good. And the Gators, again, just a few yards from pay dirt. They'll go into the second quarter up 14-0.
That is a great executed quarterback or running back screen, excuse me, for Gateway. You saw everybody for Penn Hills was rushing forward, nobody on the running back, and that's why he was able to make that play.
Speaking of the Indians, take a look at their schedule for the 2021 campaign. They started off last week. Again, Spencer, that's a tall task taken on Central Catholic in the first contest, but when you look at this schedule, what stands out for you? For me, the gauntlet again at the beginning of the season. They get no rest here, no rest for the weary for both of these teams.
Yeah, I think especially if what we've seen from the past couple years, take a look at Upper St. Clair, Pine Richland is always a good team. North Hills has been doing decently this year so far. And then in the back end, Fox Chapel, Shaler, and Kiski, who Shaler's had a couple victories so far this season after a team that pretty much went winless for several years for the Titans. They're finally getting their program a bit on the right track. And hey, you never know here in the WPIAL, especially late in the season, how much of an impact these games will have late in the season. And with the playoffs being expanded, when these teams see each other, they know what they're doing. These lower tier teams, lower seeded teams have this ability to really make an upset.
Second quarter starts, the teams switch sides. Birch is going to hang on to it, makes a few miss, gets down towards the goal line, and he's in. Hands extended toward the sky. The official signals a touchdown. Make it 20-0. The Gators are starting to pour it on hot and heavy here to start the second quarter.
Bradley Birch earned this touchdown. Watch this. Gets around one defender, has a shirt on him, and then he just pushes forward, and his lineman helping him as well. That was 54 for Gateway, Jaden Maginald, who helped him secure the touchdown for the Gators. And for the most part, it's been pretty much all Gateway as we see a flag on the field. I think someone on Penn Hills jumped early. We'll see exactly who jumped first. But again, it's been pretty much all Gateway with this offense so far. That interception for Penn Hills was an overthrown pass that they read perfectly. But other than that, Gateway has been rolling.
So the penalty will be against the Gators. We'll push them back, make a little bit more difficult of an extra point attempt for the junior Cole Plaxon, who was good from 37 last week. Nailed a field goal that looked like it would have been good from 47, maybe even a bit further. So now this will be a 25-yard extra point. Snap is down, kick is up, and that is no good. Going to be wide left, and so the penalty alters the extra point. That's the first blunder by Plaxon. Really, as you said, other than the interception, not a whole lot of blunders in general. You see Birch, the quarterback, calling his own number. It's now 20-0. Gators out in front.
From the doctor's office to the playing field, UVMC Sports Medicine.
Take a look at the Indian sidelines, trying to regroup, trying to find a little bit of momentum. Spencer, they did have a few first downs on that last drive. What's that next step? What's going to get them not just into enemy territory, but into the end zone?
Well, I think for Penn Hills, we saw the plays like the bootleg for Duggar. We saw Duggar use his feet well. Designed plays where Duggar is able to free himself works a lot better than quarterback in the shotgun, where it's an option play and Gateway has 3 or 4 guys reading both the running back and the quarterback. And I think that is, again, opened up with a bit more passing from Duggar. And on offensive line also has to help him for the Indians as well. But again, like you mentioned, it was a productive drive for Penn Hills. Yes, it did not result in points, but it still moved them enough to give them maybe just a bit more confidence than they had coming into the end of that first quarter.
So Plaxon will tee it up once again at the 40-yard line, and off the right hash, he gives this one the boot. And it'll be corralled at the 5-yard line. Returning it this time is Antrell Plowden. Plowden, or rather that is still Rollins. Excuse me. Rollins
On the return.
Tries to do his best, but gets stopped just past the 20. Looks like 23 will be tackled at the 23. And so moving forward, it'll be 60 or 76 yards to go to the goal line for the Indians. They have their work cut out for them, down 20-0 here. Just 12 seconds gone by here. This game hasn't gone by super fast. A lot of quick strikes, a lot of passing plays, and so we find ourselves with a lot of ways to go here. Here's a run will be Key on the sweep out to the right. A moderate gain of 3 on first down. Key, as we said last season, played a big role in the playoff game, got a lot of carries early, kept Penn Hills in it, fell off of the field, did not get a whole lot of carries. There was some speculation he might have been injured. We never were able to confirm it. But nonetheless, Key was a guy, 5.4 yards a carry last season, a difference maker, and we'll see if he gets a few more touches tonight for this Penn Hills offense as they face a 2nd and 7 at their own 26-yard line.
Again, we talk about Duggar being a big part of this offense, but Key is also huge as another run for him.
And a good one. He finds some separation, and he gets pulled down from behind. He had a lot of green in front of him, but that will be a gain of 14 up to the 40-yard line. And Penn Hills, for the 2nd consecutive drive, is able to establish a little bit of momentum as they move the chains.
Yeah, 5'8" Amir Key, a bit undersized for some running backs, but he's able to use that agility, juke to his right side, find the hole, and get some positive yardage for Penn Hills.
So ball spotted at the 39-yard line, not the 40. But a fresh set of downs nonetheless. They'll go to the ground again. It'll be Key again, and Key fumbles this one. Did he get back on it? No. And who else but the playmaker in the secondary, Elijah Heller. Looked like Key either had that one stripped or just sort of went one way and the ball went the other. And Heller dives on it to give the Gators possession in Penn Hills territory once again.
That hurts for Penn Hills a lot. As you saw, Key was really running well for the Indians. Is another look at it. Got the ball. Oh, he's trying to change it into it. He was trying to change arms with the ball, trying to put it into his left arm. And when he did that, he fumbled it, and it was picked up by Gateway.
Carson Engelke getting a hand in there and disrupting that one. And then Elijah Heller corralling the ball. And so the Gators, once again, on the right side of the 50. They take over at the 47-yard line, leading 20-0. Birch once again in the gun. He'll send Bodie in motion. Play action fake. They have Bodie open. They'll go over the top to him. Bodie trying to make a few miss. He gets tackled from behind, but he goes from the 47 to the 17. Make that a gain of 30 yards on first down.
And what throw is that again, Vince? In the middle, on the slot, just slanting to his left. Take another look. You see Bodie in motion, and he went right into the middle, right across. Nobody there for Penn Hills to take him down or to cover him, and then he gets finally taken down by the Indians.
So Bodie approaching 100 yards receiving here just in the first half. Has 65 yards on the touchdown catches, another 30 there. Productive first half for the Cincinnati recruit. They'll go and keep it on the ground. This time it's Reynolds. Reynolds with a decent hole and a decent gain there on first down. He'll get the ball inside the 15, down to about the 13. So that should bring up about 2nd and 5, make that a gain of about 5 yards there on the play by Reynolds. Brings up a manageable down and distance for 2nd down.
On the tackle.
And it seems like the Gators have done a good job. We haven't seen in the last few weeks, Spencer, but this week a good balance in the play calling between running and passing.
And I think that is the problem for Penn Hills, is that they're giving them fits both in the air and on the ground. I think we'll see another one in the air here for Gateway.
Gators indeed will go to the air, going to the back of the end zone, looking for Bodie. And again, it's intercepted. And again, for the 2nd time tonight, it's DeAndre Cochran coming down with the ball. And so Cochran trying to keep the Indians in this one as another turnover. And Spencer, I got to say, that one felt a little forced.
That's underthrown there for Bodie, and he knows it too. He has to get him over the top. You're trying to go to that back end of the end zone. Let Bodie, who's 6'2", reach up and be the only one to make that catch. But it was a great play by Penn Hills. They read it. That was DeAndre Cochran, stepped in front of it and made the interception. And I think was huge for Penn Hills to just keep themselves in this game. It would have been a 26-0 if that was caught by Bodie, but instead it's 20-0. But the Penn Hills Indians, they got at least, I think, in this drive, get past the 50. They need to do something here to just show that their offense is capable of making these plays and they're capable of giving the Gateway Gators a fight.
Well, they'll go right back to Key after his fumble on the last possession, but he goes nowhere fast as he's wrapped up by a couple Gators. Looks like Lewis Douglas and Matthew Brooks in on the stop, so that'll be a loss of a yard. Key really had some momentum going on that last drive before letting the ball hit the turf. He was stripped by Carson Engelke, and so the second interception on the evening for Birch, who has racked up quite a few. He had 2 in the opener. Turned the ball over a few times last week, and now 2 interceptions in the first half once again. And that was a big problem against Delaware Valley. Wasn't able to put the nail in the coffin, let that team hang around, though they did still win by 16. See if Penn Hills can put something together. Pass again, high, incomplete.
Duggar pass.
Looking
Incomplete.
over toward the sidelines was Rayon Strader there. Wasn't able to extend out for that one. Strader at 6 foot tall, so lets you know that one was thrown pretty high. Good coverage there by Kenny Lewis, the freshman on the outside.
Yeah, a bit high from Duggar, and you see making the right decision. That's a good ball to go to, but you got to let it hit Strayer right in the chest. You got to let him hit that because he cut back, and that defensive back is behind him, so you got to put it right towards him on the numbers to give him that catch. And you might not get the first as he cut back before the first down marker, but he's still getting those yards.
So as it stands, it's 3rd and long. Duggar scanning his options, has a man open, puts that one on the money. The Indians will convert on that 3rd and long and keep the drive going. And once again, it is Cochran making a big play for the Indians. He's been a real bright spot for this team so far tonight.
That's a good read by Duggar, scanning his options, taking a look. He looks to his left, looks to his right, finds Cochran getting himself open and making the catch right by that first down marker. You got to go as far as the first down marker on 3rd down. He gets the catch there and he gets some more yards.
That's a good point. A good route by Cochran to make sure that he had enough for the sticks by the time he caught the ball. So fresh set of downs. Indians will go to work. They'll hand it off here, and a gain of a few there. Does that look like Rollins on the carry? Give him about 2. 2nd down and 8.
Number 23 of here, Rollins on the carry.
And you see that halfback option. They give it to Rollins this time. Gateway, they got 2 players on the running back every single time on that halfback option.
Aiden Smith with the stop there for the Gators. 5'11", 200-pound senior. Play clock at 10. Indians rush to the line to get this one off. Will they keep it on the ground, or will they test that Gators secondary again? They'll go to the air. That first read not open, so they'll go over the top. They've got a man, but that's just overthrown. Looking down the field, that throw just a little bit rushed, but they had the receiver. That was Chase Barney.
Pass intended for Chase Barney.
Just a little bit overthrown there.
Yeah, Barney had a step on his man, got behind the coverage, but take a look. 3 guys. First guy to get there, 54 for Gateway, forcing Duggar to throw it up in more of a desperation throw than a more accurate throw that he was looking for. It was Jaden Maganault who was there for Gateway to cause that pressure.
So once again, the Indians find themselves in a familiar circumstance. 3rd and long. Ball at their own 36-yard line, looking to move the chains here with about 7 minutes left in the half. Down 20-0 to down the road rival Gateway. This one fumbled and kicked. The ball still loose. Duggar gets it. Trying to find some space. He gets away from the first would-be tackler, but good pursuit there. Lewis Douglas not letting him get away. The low snap gets away from Duggar, and then the running back, without even knowing, Rollins just kicks it. The ball continues to bounce around there. You see Hunter Dow go for it. At least Duggar was able to get it back, but a broken play once again. The Indians have had a few of those here.
Yeah, Carson Engelke was there for Gateway, and if he's not there, Duggar is actually able to get to the outside and make a play out of what have been the craziest thing I think we've seen so far in this game, almost making positive yards out of that, but instead Gateway was there to stop him.
Rosemeyer again gets this one off. It looked like it might have been tipped. You see the official motioning. Still gets the ball down the field, though. But Gators once again winning that field possession battle. They'll get the ball at the 43-yard line. An opportunity to tack on a few more before the half.
And dangerous there for Gateway. A couple players actually in the area of that bouncing ball, but it was collected by Gateway.
So the Big East Conference this year factors to be a tough one. Penn Trafford, the #1 team in 5A. Gateway ranked at #2. Franklin Regional, Latrobe, and Woodland Hills all sitting at 1-1 on the season. And the Connellsville Falcons still looking for their first victory. Hopefully we'll be able to get all these games in this year. No cancellations due to COVID. Draw play. Reynolds will get it on first down. He finds a hole. He's over the 50 to the 45, and looked like he got a face mask there. Good eye, Spencer. I see you there with the motion next to me, and that's going to tack on another 15.
Flag on the play.
And it's a good run from Reynolds. And he has to be hauled down by the face mask as he was running with a mission there for Gateway. And it is face mask is the call on Penn Hills, so we'll tack on more yards. Taking a look. It's a designed delayed handoff. Reynolds stiff-arming a man, and I think that was pretty much what frustrated the player for Penn Hills, and having to just hold on to him by the face mask and pulling him down.
Key Parker with the grab there on the face mask, and that was about as blatant of one as you're going to see. So an easy call. They'll go to the air once again. They'll get it to Bodie once again, and Bodie able to get the ball back into the red zone. He goes over 100 yards receiving here in the first half. And for the second straight play, the Gators move the chains and creep ever closer to opening this one up big time.
Yeah, it's another slant route for Gateway. This time it's a more of a quick slant for Bodie, and it is better covered by Penn Hills, as you see several guys in the middle of the field for the Indians, but Bodie just had a step on his defender, and that's exactly what you want for Gateway to get themselves the first down.
Now the Gators taking a little bit more time. They've got the clock to their advantage as we're at about 5 minutes, 20 seconds in rolling here. It'll be handed off to Reynolds. Reynolds around the left side, able to dance around a few defenders before getting piled up inside the 15. So he'll gain about 4 on first down. We'll bring up second down and medium. Call it 2nd and 6.
About 5 minutes here in the half to go up potentially 26-27 to nothing. Could be huge for Gateway to really, I wouldn't say put the nail in the coffin, far from it, but they are the team that has been dominating in this game.
So 2nd and 5 officially. Ball placed at the 12 on the left hash. Birch in the shotgun. 4 receivers set. Another delayed handoff to Reynolds. Reynolds dances a bit and then just tries to drive himself forward. He'll get close, but not quite to first down yardage. So that will bring up 3rd down and what looks like about 2.
Better coverage from Penn Hills there. You saw 2 DBs waiting for that delayed handoff, and then finally converging once they saw it was given to Reynolds. See, right immediately, about 2 yards for Reynolds, and then he rolls himself forward for a handful more. Good coverage on the tackle by Penn Hills, but again, Gateway still moving down the field.
3rd down, ball at the 10-yard line. We'll get a timeout from the offense here. Coach Don Hall wants to talk things over. Gateway, that's their first timeout of the half. Both have 2 remaining. We haven't seen a whole lot of stoppages in play thus far, but Coach Hall going to give instruction to his crew there on the sidelines as they look to, as you said, Spencer, really break this one wide open. Already up 3 scores. Penn Hills just trying to hang in here. This is an Indians defense that already has 2 takeaways on the day, but just the amount of playmakers, and specifically so far tonight, it's been Patrick Bodie all doing it himself. Birch with the touchdown run there on the 3rd touchdown, but it seems like every other play they're trying to find a way to get the hands The ball into the hands of Bodie, and that's not all that surprising. He had 0 receptions last week for an offense that really struggled to find its footing. Yet after thinking practice, they probably drew up a lot to try and get him the ball.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson really shut down Bodie last week, and I think, if you ask me, I think they're going to try and go towards Bodie again. Bottom of your screen, will it be another slant kind of towards the right by the end zone marker?
He's got one-on-one coverage. They'll go underneath this time, though, and that one will be a moderate gain, and it looks like just enough to gain that first down yardage. Lewis Douglas, the tight end, we've seen him make some plays in the backfield on defense. See him just sneak across here underneath. A well-designed play.
And that's designed. You could see from the eyes of the Gateway quarterback, Birch, he's looking towards number 43 that whole time, seeing if he can peel off just enough to get that first down. And I think Gateway is really going to try, and I think in that situation, you're trying to use the clock more than anything else, get yourself down, get yourself that score at the end of half here.
First and goal at the 6. They'll give it to Reynolds. He found a little bit of daylight, but the hole closes quickly, and the Indians stop him after a gain of about 2. That's a good point, Spencer. The clock now dipping to about 3 minutes, so not only do you want to give yourself enough time to get the ball into the end zone, but certainly don't want to give your opposing offense enough time to feel comfortable. Try to get them into that 2-minute offense and accelerate things a bit.
Yeah, and especially Penn Hills, who has struggled to generate offense. If you can try and get them in a bit more hurry up, a bit more rushed, it could be something to really stop Penn Hills and just kind of flatten them for this first half.
They'll go with the option. The toss to Reynolds. He has daylight, and he's into the end zone. The toss to the right side, and Reynolds gets rewarded. He's been running all over the Indians all evening thus far, and finally he gets his number called close to the end zone and punches it in for 6.
Exactly how you execute the option is Birch, once he gets that first man on him, drops it off to Reynolds. Nobody near Reynolds and nobody even able to touch him until he goes into the end zone, and the first touch on him was a high five from his own player. So 26-0 for Gateway. It has been the first half that you were looking for the Gators.
Extra point is up and good, and so atoning after the miss the last time is Cole Plaxon. He'll make it 27-0. He's 3 for 4. Take another look at that touchdown run.
Yeah, you see Reynolds on the right side. That has pretty much been the story for Gateway. Anything Penn Hills does, and they've had some sparks on defense with a couple picks, but other than that, Gateway's just kind of using what they normally do and going to work and getting the results.
Take a look at the Northeast Conference standings. Penn Hills winless on the season thus far, and yeah, an upstart Shaler team at 2-0. North Hills poking its head into the top 5. Kiski, another team that has started out 2-0, and I don't think anyone would have been betting that after 2 weeks you'd see the Rams there at the bottom of the screen, but I think that goes to show that this is going to be a competitive conference this year, vying for those 4 playoff spots.
No, I think you're right, with the exception of maybe Fox Chapel at the bottom 0-2. You don't usually expect Kiski, North Hills, and Shaler to be the top 3 teams in Pine Richland. I mean, everybody knows about Pine Richland in Western Pennsylvania, and they're usually a team that is consistently, but it is early, 0-2 again, especially in your non-conference games to start the season, kind of getting things gelled properly for your team, which again, I think is also important for the Indians so far. I mean, it's 27-0, 2.5 minutes remaining, but this is a game that, again, you're not really looking for the score for Penn Hills right now. You're mainly looking to try and get something productive out of this game, regardless of if you win or lose.
Here Rollins tries to go east to west and doesn't find a whole lot of daylight. He'll get it just up over the 20 to the 21 and nothing more. And so Penn Hills will go to work. 2.5 minutes left. Certainly enough time to put something together, but can they? So far tonight, no dice.
Yeah, they need something here. Something. We saw the one drive in the first quarter where they were able to move down the field, and then it was stumbled. We saw, speaking of stumbling, we saw Amir Key, who had several great rushes, and then when he was trying to change carrying, he drops the ball, and another timeout taken by Penn Hills as I think one of the coaches is talking things over with his team. He didn't like the situation on the field.
On the other side of that, though, the Gators defense has been fantastic thus far tonight as we take a look at the third conference in 5A. Neither of these teams hail from the Allegheny 6, but certainly some of these teams, 4 to be exact, will find themselves in the playoffs. And again, a stacked conference. This might be the deepest conference in the WPIAL. As you look, Moon and Peters putting together fast starts. South Fayette, a perennial favorite. West Allegheny with so much tradition. Bethel Park trying to rebuild. Upper St. Clair has had some tough tests early. Spencer, what do you think? How do you think things will shake out in the Allegheny 6?
I mean, you always expect South Fayette, especially when they were lower in the WPIAL, to perform as their best of their abilities. West Allegheny is always consistently pretty good. Peters Township has been surprising as well as Moon Tigers so far this year, and last year, of course, Moon has really turned their program around after the past couple of years, which is always great to see for a Tigers team that has had success early on, about a decade ago at best, and now they're really breaking things together here.
Peters Township looking to get to its third consecutive WPIAL final, but they'll have a tough road ahead and a tough conference. Duggar flushed out of the pocket, is able to run over the 30-yard line, so turns nothing into something. And now, do we see, was that enough for the first down? It looks like it not moving that second stick yet, so it looks like he's about a yard short. But a good run on first down, and for a nice change, the Indians not falling behind the sticks as they have many times here early in this contest.
Gateway also has to be careful there. We saw a player diving at the feet of Duggar while he was clearly going towards the out of bounds, and he was pretty much out, so you got to be careful there for Gateway. Stupid penalties are not going to help you when Penn Hills can move the ball like this.
Duggar had a lot of time to throw there. That one is corralled at the 44-yard line, so a nice completion down the field. For the first time, he's able to actually get it into the hands of Chase Barney. They've had a couple close calls, but found a little gap within the defense and was able to complete it.
And again, Barney getting himself open. That wasn't Duggar's first option. He was looking to his right. Saw a couple players actually for Penn Hills were both over there open for the Indians, and they moved the chains.
Duggar will pass once again, able to evade the first tackler, but here comes again, and now a forced fumble, and it'll turn over once again. Demetrius Harper, give him credit. He ran past Duggar, stayed in pursuit, gets the strip sack, and the Gators come up with the turnover once again. That was a big issue last week for Penn Hills. They turned it over 7 times against Central Catholic. And stop me if you've heard this before, but the Gators are back in business on offense on the right side of the 50-yard line.
Yeah, and Duggar's got to know that this player is trailing him. He's got to either get that ball away or rush to the corner or rush to the out of bounds, and he does not. He's holding it still, looking for his options, has that defender trailing him, and that was the reason for the fumble. A good play by Harper, who jumped the snap perfectly, and then once he got evaded, stayed with it like you mentioned, was trailing him the whole time, got his arm on Duggar, and was able to force the fumble.
Aiden Smith with the fumble recovery officially. It'll be marked at the 36-yard line, and so the Gators will go to work once again. 4 receivers set. They'll fake the handoff. Going over the top, Birch looking down the field for Harper, or rather, Dallas Harper.
Pass incomplete. Intended for number 13, Dallas Harper.
So Demetrius with the strip sack. Dallas almost with the touchdown, but that one a bit overthrown by Birch.
A bit overthrown by Birch, but you saw Harper had a step, and that's exactly what you want to do. If you're Birch, you're throwing that over. See where it's on the shoulder of Harper. Nobody for Penn Hills can get to it. It's either going to be too long or it's going to be hauled in by Harper, and that time just a bit too long.
2nd and 10. Ball still at the 36. Clock has winded down to 1 minute 42 seconds. Still a decent amount of time to work with. Birch steps up in the pocket, evades a few would-be tacklers, and gains just a yard, it looks like, as he will be down just inside the 35-yard line. So bring up 3rd and 9 and see what the Gators do here. That clock continues to wind.
And we see a couple players coming for Penn Hills, and Birch again. I mean, he's able to evade 2 guys just to get himself back to line of scrimmage, and actually made that a positive play. I think he got a yard on that one. So Birch has been, I think, pretty much the player here for Gateway that has made the impact. We talked about it in the pregame. The quarterbacks for both sides, Duggar and Birch, and it's been Birch so far. Duggar's had some good runs, but Birch has done the most part for Gateway.
Join us next week at Bethel Park. High School will be driving out to the South Hills to bring you another non-conference matchup between the Blackhawks and the Gators. Gators blew out Bethel Park last season as a team that normally is fairly competitive, went winless. They're trying to rebuild their program, finally got back into the win column. I was there for their opener against Mount Lebanon, and talk about a team in 6A that looks primed and ready to take that next step. Legendary coach Bob Pauco has the Blue Devils playing some really good football here in his third season at Mount Lebanon.
No surprise coming from Bob Pauco.
So 3rd and long here, ball at the 35. They'll fake the run. Birch will step up, has time to throw, and that one just beyond the arms of the intended receiver. That is his brother, once again, Brett Birch. And so now decision-making time, 4th down and 9 at the 35. It looks like the Gators will keep that offense on the field. And Spencer, I tend to think at this juncture, that's probably the right call.
Yeah, you might as well go for it. I mean, 27-0, got about 1:15 in the half.
Again, if you don't turn it over, you don't give them that short of a field to work with, the Indians.
Yeah, they're sitting right about the 35, and the Indians have had issues trying to move the ball as of recently, ever since that fumble from Amir Key. Every time that the Indians have taken 2 steps forward, they take 1 step back, it seems like.
Pass is batted at the line of scrimmage, and so that 4th down conversion does not come to pass. The Indians hold. They'll take over. 1st and 10 at the 35 with 1:12 left to go. We'll see if they try to run the 2-minute offense or play it safe and head into the locker room. But as you've said multiple times, Spencer, it's been all Gateway thus far, resetting the game for you all at home. Started out with a 38-yard touchdown pass from Birch to Patrick Bodie, made it 7-0. Just moments later, after a short 3-and-out by the Penn Hills Indians, they took over once again. Birch going 27 yards to Bodie. The familiar connection made it 14-0. Then Birch kept it himself on a 5-yard touchdown run. Extra point no good, made it 20-0. And then Jaquan Reynolds moments ago with a 4-yard scamper with the extra point makes it 27-0. Duggar with no time to throw tries to evade the pass rush to no avail. He's brought down by a number of Gators. Leading the charge there is Jaden Madrigal.
Gateway rushes 5, and they've got 4 guys getting to Duggar for the Gators. A tough night for the offensive line for Penn Hills.
Lewis Douglas also initiating contact there. So the clock winds, 32 seconds and counting, play clock under 10. They'll hand it off. It's over the right side. It's a run that's productive and gets them close to 1st down yardage. It looks like the ball carrier could not get out of bounds, and so the clock will continue to run there as Rollins, I don't know, they will mark it out of bounds, and so I think they'll take a look and try and restore some time on the clock here.
I was wondering why that clock kept running. As you see, Rollins clearly was out of bounds on his own power. No knees down or anything. So
that probably ran for another 6 or 7 seconds. They should probably have about 25 seconds left to work with here. See if they make the adjustment. Officials call for an official timeout. They'll conference at around the 45-yard line.
Yeah, and you can see the referee making his motion with the hands. He's saying that clock was running, so we have to reset that one. At least they should. We'll see what Penn Hills will be given, if they're given any more time.
And certainly Coach John Ladon there on the sidelines. Rather Don Hall pleading his case, but you'd have to think John Ladon on the other sidelines is saying, hey, we got the ball at the 45-yard line. Every one of those seconds counts. We're trying to get some points on the board here.
You never know. Here in high school football, we've seen Penn Hills have a step on a defender, and you see another throw from Duggar, if it gets over those Gateway DBs, it could be a touchdown. And again, it's only points on the board. It's only going to be 6, but it's the points that you need for Penn Hills to really just keep yourself not only in this game, but just give yourself momentum going into the second half as the clock will resume running.
3rd down and 1. Indians with 11 seconds left. They're just going to send this one on a Hail Mary. They have a receiver open. There was some contact there. And we'll get a pass interference call, and that will put the Indians in business as the spot of the foul will take the ball all the way down to near the 20-yard line with about 5 seconds left. The Indians will have a crack at the end zone.
Yeah, taking a look, this should be defensive pass interference. You see number 3 being the defender. You got to put your hands up. You got to turn your head. You cannot put your hands up and do not play the ball. If you're not playing the ball, they will call you every single time. You see 21 for Gateway, Kenny Lewis putting his arms up and not letting Chase Barney make that catch because Barney tries to cut back and play the ball. The DB for Gateway, that was Kenny Lewis, does not play the ball, so an obvious pass interference call. At least it should be.
They're marching it off now. And so forgive me, it's not a spot of the foul like you see in college. It is a 15-yard penalty. As the Indians will call a timeout to try and assess what they can do here with 4.8 seconds left on the clock. The ball at the 46-yard line. In all likelihood, we'll see a Hail Mary. See if they can give Duggar enough time to scramble out, create some space, and put one deep.
You know, just kind of thinking about this for Lewis now is that's not a spot of the ball penalty. That ball's now at the 42-yard line instead of around, I believe it was the 25 for Penn Hills. So instead of potentially a long field goal or a shorter distance, it's only 15 yards. So if anything, you've got 2 options there for Kenny Lewis. You either let him catch that and not play the ball and don't touch him at all, or you just push him. And it's 15 yards, and with only 4 seconds left in the half, now they have to throw the ball a lot farther than they were hoping with that throw to Lewis, or with that throw to Barney.
So the Indians back out on the field. They are ready for what will likely be the last play of the first half. Make sure you stay tuned in. Don't go anywhere. We'll have the Trib Live High School Sports Network halftime show upcoming with scores and analysis from around the league. 2 running backs for the Indians. They'll drop back. They'll create protection. Get a reception underneath. Can they make a few men miss? They'll get to the outside, and things will end at about the 24-yard line as Rayon Strader was not able to make enough men miss to get to the end zone. So this will wrap it up for the first half. Spencer, any parting thoughts before we throw it to the halftime show?
The score is relevant, 27-0. I mean, it's been all Gateway, and everything that Penn Hills really has done, like I said, kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where they're making positive yardage, and then it's a fumble or a strip sack or something along those lines for Penn Hills. I think that they've done a bit better job on defense, especially near the end of this half, but for the most part, that offense needs to get going, and they need to kind of grow a couple plays together without those big issues from the Gateway defenders.
Well, that will do it for our first half of play. We will send it to the Trib Live High School Sports halftime show. For my broadcast partner, Spencer Witt, I'm Vince Russo. We'll be back in just a little bit, but our halftime score, Gateway Gators up 27-0 on the Penn Hills Indians, and you're catching it all here on YouTube and the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Highway Marching Band is directed by Mr. James Helchie, with assistance from Sean McMasters, Ryan Moser, and Dave Berger, with color guard direction by Bob.
At SE Tire and Export Tire. They work hard to earn your business. They have your size tire in stock, and they can install it today. All the best brands at the best tire prices. Export Tire, Old William Penn Highway in Export. SE Tire, Route 51 in Bell Vernon. Shop for their tires online. Check out their Google reviews. Welcome in. I'm Don Rebel. Chris Harlan is with me, and we are here to talk about the players to watch around the WPIAL. We did teams last week, so now let's focus in on some of the top players. We'll go class by class. We're already, for some teams, 2 weeks into this, so it makes it a little easier. But, Chris, what you got? We'll start in Class A.
Yeah, I'd like to look at some guys who are kind of off to good starts. I mean, everyone has had at least one game yet. Some teams have played two. It's played Leechburg's Braden Lovelace, running back. He was all conference last year, second after 2 weeks in rushing in the WPL this year. Also has 7 WPL touchdowns. Best in the WPL with 7 touchdowns already this year. So he's a guy, Leechburg hasn't been in the playoffs in a few years.
Mm-mm.
Running back that, with that kind of performance, if he can keep that up, Leechburg might be looking at a playoff spot maybe this year. Another running back, Landon Stevenson from Mapletown, almost 300 yards in 2 weeks. Both, big-time rushers in single A this year, looking to get their teams into the playoffs.
And by a few years, you mean 34 as far as Leechburg is concerned.
I tried to make it, not so harsh.
But who's counting?
So it would be big.
All right, let's climb the ladder. Let's go ahead to the class with the most teams. How many top players are there in 2A?
Yeah, another big time rusher right now, leading the WPL in yards. Waynesburg's Braden Woods. He's a guy that came into this week with 466 yards on 50 carries, 5 touchdowns already just in the first couple of weeks. So he's a guy definitely, as you watch that Waynesburg team this year, see him if he can keep piling up those numbers.
Only a sophomore too.
Yes, he is. Another couple names to watch this year, teams that are on the rise. Stowe Rocks with their quarterback, Josh Jenkins. He's a quarterback. He's a wide receiver. They move him all around. I know his coach compared him to Cordell Stewart at one point. I don't know if any high school kids today know Cordell Stewart. Maybe a more recent comparison would be Taysom Hill from the New Orleans. But, he does both. He'll line up in the backfield, play little receiver, does a lot for them. Pharaoh Fisher, a wide receiver defensive back for Sarah Catholic, another big-time playmaker that's looking to get Sarah Catholic over the hump this year and get a good run from them.
Yeah, they had a nice season last year. He was a big part of their success in 2020. All right, Class 3A.
Yeah, 3A, you got to talk about the talent at Central Valley.
Yep.
They've got a running back there in Landon Alexander. Some people might know him from Friday Night Tykes, the TV show that was on a number of years ago, showed little kid football players in Beaver County. He was one of the stars of that show. He was a running back on there. Now he's a star running back in the WPIAL. Coming into his senior year, back in the summer I talked to him and he said, hey, I'd love to rush for 2,000 yards this year. That's a big number. I think he has the talent to do that. The only question is, will he be on the field enough to do that this year? Because Central Valley's just been beating people by so much. That's their tradition last year. Another good team this year. And he's running behind Sean Fitzsimmons, lineman there committed to Pitt, 2-way lineman who could be the best in the WPL this year. If you look at a couple other quarterbacks in 3A, Nick Buckley at Keystone Oaks. It seems like Keystone Oaks coach Greg Perry always has a quarterback there who's doing pretty good, and that's his guy this year. And Nate Harper at Avonworth, off to a good start. Another quarterback who could do big things in 3A this year.
Check out the archive edition, our small school preview for week 2. Some of the top players. We'll start with Keystone Oaks. Keystone Oaks, 2A quarterback, the Rebel Yell podcast, Greg Perry of Keystone Oaks, talking about Mr. Buckley from earlier this week. All right, when we return, 4A, 5A, 6A, players to watch. It's the halftime show sponsored by Export Tire and SE Tire on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
Need new tires in a hurry? SE Tire has your size tire in stock. Install today. Before you hit the open road, see the tire experts at SE Tire. We do tires and we do them right. Before you hit the open road, see the tire experts at Export Tire. We do tires and we do them right. If it has wheels, we have the tires. Export Tire, your commercial tire headquarters.
Halftime show continues, week 2 edition on the Trib Live High School Sports Network with Chris Harlan. I'm Don Rebel. We're talking about some of the players to watch for this 2020 season. We left off Christopher in Class 4A.
Here's a name that we've talked about, it seems like, for many years and every season. Rodney Gallagher from Laurel Highlands. He's a two-sport guy, basketball, football. You know, he could play either one in college. He could play both in college. He's got colleges out there wanting him. Already a good start to this year. He's playing quarterback for Laurel Highlands. Came into tonight with 5 touchdowns, 270 yards rushing as their quarterback. Again, only a junior. A big-time talent on both sides of the ball, and definitely a name to watch this year in 4A. Another one to watch, maybe a more traditional quarterback, in Caden Olson at Armstrong. And he's really, all he does is throw touchdowns. He came into this week already with 8 this season. If you go back to last year, in 10 games, he's now thrown 31 touchdowns. This year alone, he's got, 8 and 550 passing yards. Pretty good quarterback, and he's going to do things, big things for Armstrong. He was second in WPIAL passing last year, and I think he'll be right up there, maybe making a run for being the top passer this year.
Frank Fabian, speaking of Rebel Yell podcast, also he was our big school midweek preview, and we talked a lot about Mr. Olson and his success, and he's still only a junior. All right, now 5A players to watch.
Yeah, this guy may be the biggest playmaker, right up there so far this year. North Hills Robert Dickerson. He's a guy coming in, another two-sport guy, but instead of football, basketball, he's a football, baseball guy, and he's talked about maybe playing Division I baseball and Division I football both. But he's really had an impact so far on North Hills this year. If you want, I've heard people around there call him the Bo Jackson of the WPIAL. Again, I don't know if high school kids understand how good Bo Jackson was. So maybe a more current reference would be someone like Kyler Murray, a baseball, football kind of guy. But he's done both. And I think if coaches are out there, I think one thing they're going to learn about Robert Dickerson is don't kick the ball to him. I think 2 weeks in a row he ran a punt back for a touchdown. So I think pretty soon people are going to start trying to avoid him with kicks. But him and teammate Liam Tracy, a running back, have really done a lot this year and really boosted this North Hills to a 2-0 start. A couple other 5A guys, Cade Yakimelli, running back from Penn Trafford, has the Warriors ranked number 1 in 5A in our rankings already. He's a Wisconsin recruit. And a guy you saw recently, Don, Deontay Williams from Woodland Hills, quarterback, defensive back, electric playmaker on both sides of the ball.
Yep. Fantastic touchdown, the only one against McKeesport in a 1-point loss. All right. Finally, Class 6A players to watch.
Yeah, 6A to me is always about the linemen. There's always really good linemen in 6A. This year, that's the same case again. 2 guys I want to highlight on the defensive side. One is Jacob Porter, defensive end, edge rusher for North Allegheny. You'll know his dad, Joey Porter. He played for the Steelers. And Jacob is making a name for himself, and he's got a lot of speed. If you look last year, he was 4th in WPIAL in the 100 meters, so there's no questioning how quick he is. Another good lineman, Donovan Heinisch, defensive tackle for Central Catholic. If you watched the Florida State Notre Dame game the other day, his brother was the nose tackle for Notre Dame, Kurt Heinisch. And Donovan is going to follow him. He's headed to Notre Dame next year, too. A big anchor in the middle of that Central Catholic defensive line.
Our halftime show sponsored by SE Tire and Export Tire, the tire experts. They work hard to earn your business. They have the tire you need in stock, and they can install it today. They have the best brands and the best tire prices. SC Tire, Route 51 in Bell Vernon, Export Tire, Old William Penn Highway and Exports. Shop for tires online and check out their Google reviews. We thank them for sponsoring the halftime show. For Chris Harlan, Chris Lackner, I'm Don Rebel. Enjoy the second half of the game you are watching and or listening to here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.
This evening. A huge shout out goes out to the Gateway for coming out this evening. Good luck to you the rest of your season. Tonight is also a band alumni night. I want to give a huge shout out to all in attendance, and especially those who perform with the band at pregame and at halftime. We had Zachary Oswald, the class of 2019, as well as Stephanie Perry, and Unique Reagan, the class of 2019. For the class of 2018, we had Nathan Frollo and Evan Epshine. The class of 2004, and Kevin Yinchik. And our very own Brian Fitzroy. The class of 2003, Ms. Drum, our band director, Tiffany Zanetti. The class of 2001, Amanda Petro. The class of 1999, David Staymates, and yours truly, Mayor Cooper. And all the way back from 1979, we're going to give a huge shout out to Chris Harlan.
Welcome back, folks. We're live once again here in Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, in the eastern suburbs of Pittsburgh, as we head into second half action. And well, Spencer, it's been all Gateway all game thus far. 27-0. They jumped out over the Penn Hills Indians as we look for another 24 minutes of exciting football. And Spencer, you know, they were the favorites coming into the season, right? The top billed team in 5A, and for the first time in 3 weeks, they really look like that team.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see, especially if you're a Gateway fan, the fact that everything really is clicking for them so far in this first half. The offense has been doing well. The defense has stopped Penn Hills when Penn Hills tried to get any momentum in that first half. And, I mean, if you're Gateway, just keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, I don't even think there needs to be that many changes. I think that everything they're doing has been really good, but if you're Penn Hills on their side, you need to make some changes, make some things to try and get yourself back into this. Gateway, they have to recognize that. They have to realize what changes Penn Hills will make, and they need to stop those.
The Gators doing it on both sides of the ball and in both ways offensively. 2 passing touchdowns followed by 2 rushing touchdowns. They have some turnovers and, again, some big special teams plays. And so it's been all Gateway thus far. 27-0 your halftime score as we get ready to head back into action. Both teams getting back out onto the field, getting ready for the opening kickoff of the second half. And Spencer, you talked about, you know, Penn Hills trying to gain some traction, trying to get something going. Where do you think that starts for them?
I think it starts with the running game, actually. I do believe that they really need to give it back to Amir Key. I think Amir Key needs to prove himself after that fumble. He had some really good rushes, and then kind of when he was changing his arms, fumbled it. We haven't heard from him much since. I think if you open up Amir Key in that running game, that way you can get Julian Duggar to really open up on the offense with the passing, or with him rolling out in the bootleg or in the shotgun on those running back options.
Well, they will get the ball first, and the kick is off. Fumbled and corralled, bounces around the hands of Rollins. Rollins runs over a Gator big time, laying the boom, gets up over the 30, and maybe that's a little bit of life that Penn Hills needs to bolt them into action.
That's a good 20 minutes of pent-up energy, maybe even a good hour and a half of pent-up anger and aggression that Penn Hills really needs to get themselves back in it, like you mentioned, booming. I mean, he flattened that man. Take another look. First off, I love the juggle real quick. That was impressive to keep that one up in the air. And then we've seen some good runs from him, and he decides to instead just go right into number 8 for Gateway. And as Jordan ate that one, but Jordan got back up and was able to help make the tackle, and Penn Hills with the offense to start in the second half. We have a flag on the field, though.
It'll be a false start against Penn Hills. That will march them back 5 yards. And you know, the difference between teams that do well and teams that don't is how you play within yourself. And those good teams, they force other teams to beat them, it feels like. Penn Hills not executing. A big part of that kind of feels like they've been self-inflicting a lot of these wounds there. Another procedural penalty.
Well, I mean, let's start off in the beginning. We saw the snap over the head of the punter. That gave Gateway great field position early on in this game. We've seen the DBs kind of struggle to find receivers. We saw a wide-open receiver on the left side there. No one within 15 yards of one of the top wide receivers in the WPIAL and one of the top wide receivers for Gateway. Patrick Bodie Jr. is Aguinalt is down and holding his left arm. But yeah, Penn Hills, like you mentioned, I think Penn Hills has kind of had some self-inflicted wounds. Give Gateway defense and offense credit. I mean, the strip sack especially helped. You know, the fumble from Penn Hills was kind of on their own end too, but Penn Hills has had some turnovers themselves. They've forced Gateway to make turnovers, but like you said, they haven't capitalized.
Take another look at that run, see if we can see Maginot getting twisted up a little bit.
You'd see his arm kind of get caught on the running back there for Penn Hills, and there was a couple guys in as well, so kind of sandwiching him, like you had said.
He's getting evaluated on the sidelines, hopefully able to return. Has been a key contributor as a freshman for this Gators defense that has been nothing short of perfect thus far tonight, not allowing a single point. See if the Penn Hills Indians can break through. A nice completion there will net first down yardage. Is across the middle. Duggar's able to complete to his brother, Jaden Duggar.
Hey, I haven't heard much from Jaden Duggar today as he makes the reception there, and we see Gateway blitzing on this one. You got 4 guys going towards Duggar, and he finds his brother on the slant route. Only one-on-one coverage because of the blitz. That's a great play to start this half for the quarterback for Penn Hills, recognizing the blitz, seeing the option immediately, and firing it immediately.
Good job to step into that throw, knowing he was going to take some contact and put it where his receiver needed to move the chains. First down and 10 once again. Duggar now pressured. He fumbles it once again, but luckily his tailback's able to fall on it. No, it pops back out again, and now we see who does have it. It appears that a lineman for the Indians comes up with the ball. Khalil Barley-Morrow able to fall on that one. The 6'1 senior keeps the possession for the Indians, but not after they go backwards in a hurry.
Yeah, Duggar's got pressure on him like we see on the replay here immediately. Making a nice swim move was number 60 for Gateway. And instead of trying to tuck that ball, taking the sack, knowing that you're going to be sacked, there's no way you're getting around that defender. Instead, he tries to kind of roll out a little bit, keep that ball away from him, and that was the reason he fumbled it. I thought maybe he might have been down, but looking at that replay, I don't think so. But regardless, Penn Hills recovered it.
2nd and 21, and a broken play leads to, what does it lead to? A penalty along the sidelines. Do some extracurriculars there, but not after Amir Rollins is able to reverse field and gain about 10 yards. Now we'll have to see along the sidelines what kind of penalties will be doled out here. Clearly some confrontations and some words being exchanged.
Well, nothing ever helps when you get flattened on the opposing team's bench, and that's the second one we've seen in the past 5 minutes. And I don't know if Gateway's going to get booked for anything, if it's going to be Penn Hills for taunting. We'll see. But if you're Gateway, if you're that defender, get up, go over back to your huddle. You're up 27-0 against Penn Hills. It probably will be an offsetting penalty. We saw one flag get thrown pretty immediately, and then we saw the head ref come in and throw another flag. So we'll see what the penalties are. They're going to talk things over. And again, is this something that Penn Hills is kind of looking for? They need to put their head down and really grind it out just to get themselves forward, and that's what they're trying to do here.
So first penalty goes against the Indians, the second against the Gators. They will offset. And so the run should stand. And so that will move the chains forward. Well, not move the chains, but it'll move the Indians a bit closer to being able to do so.
A nice job by Amir Rollins cutting back after evading one tackler. And you see, he just kind of pushes down the player for the Gators. There's a lot of talking, and then right there, that's going to be the flag for Gateway. You see that's number 11 for the Gators, Demetrius Harper, and then I don't know exactly. I think it was the clapping, the taunting from 53 for Penn Hills. I think that's actually the reason Kelsey Hunley is going to be the reason that there's going to be offsetting penalty. So, again, Hunley, do not clap. You got the flag. Do not do anything, and you need to just get some yards here.
Duggar able to get some yards there on the opposite side of the field, is able to take the designed quarterback run up over midfield. They'll be a little bit short. We'll see if they keep the offense out here on a 4th and short situation, but again, a good execution there by Duggar to even put them in position to have a chance to execute here.
Guess who is in the backfield again for Gateway? It's number 60, Hunter Dow. I mean, he has been messing with the offensive line of Penn Hills all night, giving them fits and forcing Duggar to make these decisions, forcing him to be under pressure and roll out of the pocket, not make great throws. It's plays like this, again, we've talked about Gateway's defense. I don't think you hear as much. Yes, it's a shutout, and the offense really has had a lot of pizzazz with these long throws and these nice runs, but this defense has given Penn Hills a lot of issues.
Dow, one of the few returning stars from last season's defense for the Gators that was so tremendous throughout the regular season, as the Indians will take their first timeout of the second half to assess what they want to do on 4th and short from the Gateway 49. Let's take a look at the top 5. Gateway's loss means that they were usurped at the top by the Penn Trafford Warriors. They take over as the top-ranked team in 5A. Peters Township, no surprise after making it to the finals for the past 2 years. Moon at number 4, probably the most surprising team on this list. And then North Hills getting their first spotlight in the top 5 after winning their first 2 contests. We're getting word Penn Trafford actually trailing by 20 points tonight. So that will open the door. Should the Gators in all likelihood hang on here, you might see that 1-2 get reversed again next week. Kudos for a couple different tidbits in our ears from executive producer Larry George. So 4th and 2, here we go. Snap is good, rolling out, pressure coming. Duggar goes down the field as a receiver coming back, but that one is too far out of bounds. Chase Barney not able to get far enough back towards it. The pressure there applied by Amari Haynes, the 5'10 junior, was hot in pursuit, forces an errant throw, and the Gators will take over right near midfield.
All right, we see pressure again from Gateway. From that defense from the Gators, forcing an errant pass for Duggar. A curl route where the wide receiver comes back and cuts back to try and get himself the first down and get right step by that defensive back. But unfortunately, a bad throw and a tough play regardless. That player for Gateway was on the tail of the wide receiver for Penn Hills, and it's a turnover for the Gators, or for the Penn Hills Indians, excuse me.
Birch drops back, decides he's going to keep it himself on first down, finds some running room and a lot more, but it looks like a holding call will bring this one back and nullify what looked to have been about a 15-yard run, and then another flag comes in along the sidelines, perhaps more taunting, as I didn't see any physical altercations, but looks like it might be against Brad Birch, should that be against the Gators. So now the Gators losing their cool a little bit, a couple self-inflicted wounds. And just as we start to praise them coming out of halftime, Spencer, you see a couple things here composure-wise that they can continue to work on, which is uncommon. Don Hall really stresses, quote, repping the G. And normally his team plays everything pretty close to the vest, but temper's getting the best of these young men a little bit.
I mentioned before, you're up 27-0. This is unnecessary. Penn Hills is going to do whatever they can to try and get themselves these penalties, they have a chip on their shoulders. We take another look at what I believe is the second penalty. Obviously the initial holding we saw for Gateway, and then this one here. It was a little bit of a late hit, and then
oh yeah, can't do that.
Getting in the face of number 7, Cameron Thomas. It's always the second guy that gets booked, and could you argue it's a late hit? Yes, but you just got to take that if you're Birch. You know that they're going to be coming for you. You know they're going to be more aggressive. They are going to be a lot chippier for the Indians. Just take the hits and then take the victory, hopefully, for Gateway if you continue what you're doing.
Gateway, unsportsmanlike conduct. Gateway.
So not something you see every day, but first down and 35. I was literally motioning my hand trying to do all the math here. Luckily the scoreboard is updated. So they're at their own 24-yard line now after taking over originally at the 47. And that screen pass is going to go nowhere but backwards, as that one was snuffed out. Give credit to the Indians' defense. They were in their lanes and ready for that one.
Yeah, Gateway's playing Texas Hold'em with 2 jokers right now. They are just going to fold on this one as a screen pass is quickly thrown over. Penn Hills doing a good job reading that one entirely, not letting Gateway do anything with it.
So Harper makes the reception, but he'll lose a yard. Birch going to try and take off again on this one. The Indians do a much better job breaking down and bringing the quarterback down after a gain of just a few. And so first and 35 doesn't get all that much better. Looks like it's going to be, well, 3rd and 35 after the loss of a yard on the screen pass. Birch is able to gain that back and not much more.
Your Penn Hills, though, you kind of play more of a prevent defense. Don't let them get behind you. Don't let wide receivers for Gateway, especially Patrick Bodie Jr., don't let them get behind you. Stay back, stay home. If they get 20 yards, fine. If they get 30 yards, fine. It's still going to be 4th and something, and that's what Penn Hills needs right now.
They'll fake the jet sweep. Birch examines, has a man open, and it's in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, Jaquan Reynolds. He was thinking about pay dirt before he even got the ball in his hands. And so that will bring the punt team on, and Penn Hills able to get a stop here to start the second half as far as Gateway's offense is concerned.
Well, great throw, first off, from Birch, and that one, yeah, like you said, just out of the hands, and he heard the footsteps of number 7 for Penn Hills, Cameron Thomas. Thomas would have gotten there, probably, potentially could have made that tackle, but potentially that could have been a first down if he's able to break it. But instead, 4th and 35, and this is what Penn Hills wants. Taunting penalties, issues with Gateway's special teams going to result in the first points.
And I'm not sure what the punter was thinking there. Cole Plaxton didn't fall on the ball, and so the Indians dive on it, and that'll be a touchdown. Plaxton had a clear avenue to dive on the ball and keep it to just 2 points. But instead, take another look at it. It's the Indians who come away with 6.
So Plaxton sees it, and you can do 2 options. You can kick it, which he tries to and misses. That was the issue, or you can just dive on it. No one can touch you. It's not like they're going to hurt you hard. There's no one really near it other than 9, and instead of trying to just kick it out, he misses it.
Yeah, to your credit, you don't even have to fall on it if you're Plaxton. You can kick the dang thing out of the back of the end zone. But instead, it's an easy 6 points for Penn Hills. They'll look to make it 7 here. Rosemeyer going to get his kick blocked. And no return on this one. They call it dead, as they normally do in high school. And so we see some sloppy play from Gateway coming out here into the second half. And, you know, Spencer, we christened them at halftime. We talked about how complete and how dominant they looked. We're getting shades of that Delaware Valley game. Very similar. They went up 26-0, then surrendered 10 points in the second half, held on to win, but you end up leaving that game with sort of a bad taste in your mouth, even though you dominated the entire first half.
And we talked about Penn Hill's self-inflicted wounds. This was all self-inflicted wounds from Gateway. A couple personal foul penalties, a holding. We saw a bad snap, so that was the reason. That's pretty much the reason why the Indians have scored, of obviously covering up the ball, but it was all Gateway who gave it to them with these issues. Right what the Penn Hills Indians were looking for. A chip on their shoulder, trying to get some momentum, some big hits, some taunting calls, some personal fouls. This is Penn Hills momentum right now. The Gateway Gators need to stop them right here, right now. Make the message that they're still the team up 27-6, because right now, Gateway and Penn Hills, they're playing like it's kind of almost a 0-0 game, especially for Penn Hills. Gateway is kind of playing like it's about 30-0 and not having too much worry. But like you said with that Delaware Valley game, these teams will come back. There's plenty of time in this half to get yourself a couple scores and make it, at the very least, more interesting.
Coach John Ladon has his squad still fired up. They took a beating in the first half, but have come back off the mat. They've just thrown a bit of a haymaker at Gateway, pushed them back, forced a punt out of the shadow of their own end zone. The snap goes over the head of Cole Plaxton. Carson Engelke, the long snapper for Gateway. Quarterback last year, had more time to focus on that this year. Has been fairly consistent, but that one just a bit too high. And then the sort of brain freeze from Plaxton leads to a touchdown for the Indians. And now they'll kick it off back to the Gators, who will go from left to right on your screen and try and put together a better offensive possession than they did the last time. The kick is off. It'll be corralled at about the 12-yard line. And up over the 25, continuing to find a little bit of running room up to the 27 before stopped is Kenny Lewis, the 5'7" freshman.
Kenny Lewis on the return.
And so the Gators will go to work just shy of the 30-yard line.
My apologies real quick. I mentioned that you need to make a stop if you're Gateway. I was thinking it was a safety myself, and instead it wasn't kicked out of the back of the end zone or covered up. It was points for the Indians, and I think the other way around. A couple quick passes, couple quick plays here, move the ball down the field. Even if you don't score necessarily, if you keep that offensive momentum going for Gateway and make the Penn Hills Indians earn every single yard and a lot of them, in this second half.
Snap is good. Reynolds off and running. Looks like he may have gotten another face mask. He did, and now pushing after the play.
Get out of there. Get out of there, Gateway. That's just get away from them. You do not need to keep taking these calls.
So we have ample laundry on the field from the officials. You'd have to think that will be 2 personal fouls upcoming against the Indians. I don't know if there was any retaliation from the Gators whatsoever. Perhaps need a little reset here, a little zen. Both of these teams, no strangers to each other. You know, the thing that we forget is a lot of these families know each other. A lot of these kids know each other, playing sports both in youth around the area. I mean, these guys live in communities that are right next to each other. So there's no love lost for a local rivalry, because you know if you lose this game, you're going to hear about it all the time.
Yeah, and familiar faces. I mean, they were in the 2019 WPIAL title game where Gateway won that, and they were in the quarterfinals last season as well. So it's not like, yes, it's a non-conference, but these teams play each other pretty much every year. And I think if you are the head coach for a Gateway, I would be personally taking a timeout here and just kind of settle down your own players and say they're going to get chippy. They're going to make these kind of dirtier plays to get themselves back into it. You can't blame Penn Hills for that. You just got to either take it or you just got to know what the score is, what the situation is. Do not let yourself get pulled down by the Indians, who are clearly looking to try and climb themselves back up.
So I'm not exactly sure. Now we finally are getting the calls after a lengthy conference. There was holding on offense and unsportsmanlike against the offense. And I'm surprised. I don't know if I missed it, Spencer, but it looks like
there's the holding there real quick. And
there was a face mask there. I'm not sure.
Oh, there's the ball. You see 2. Jaquan Reynolds, watch again. You see there was the holding, and then that looked like a face mask, but watch this. Here he's going to throw the ball right at the head of the Penn Hills player and step forward on him, and they're going to call that every single time. And you see 55 for Gateway. Matthew Brooks just getting his player out of there. I mean, that's just – it's these tough plays that are going to hurt Gateway more than anything, and they're going to help Penn Hills more than anything. And Gateway's right now sitting at their own territory, deep in their own territory, on the 9-yard line.
And for the second consecutive drive, they have quite a ways to go. They got to get to the 38-yard line, 37-yard rather. They're at the 9 right now, so you do the math. Going from the 9 to the 37. That's 1st and 28 here for the Gators in the shadow of their own end zone, where they just let up a touchdown off of a botched punt. But they'll go to work. They'll give it back to Reynolds. Reynolds again with a big hole. Reynolds running fast, cuts back, and is taken down up over the 20-yard line. And again, it's Brooks getting in there to ensure that everyone heads back to their respective huddles. They do. And that'll bring up 2nd and much more manageable as they get the ball up over the 20.
Yeah, another good run by Reynolds, juking to his left and finding a little bit of a hole. He almost got another face mask on him, but you see Brooks and you see 43 as well, Lewis Douglas, bringing Reynolds back, saying, play's over, go back to the huddle, and we'll run the next play.
That's the kind of culture that Don Hall regularly tries to instill within his team. They'll go to Reynolds again on the screen. He won't get much. Maybe 3 on that one. He'll get the ball close to the 25, and so it'll be 3rd and long upcoming. Let's call it 3rd and 13 for the Gators.
And we see it's a running back screen and almost getting a hand on that. Reading it at the last second was number 43, Keith Pellman, but Pellman couldn't get a hand on it, but some help for the Indians was there as Reynolds doesn't get too much on it.
Penn Hills trying to build on the momentum after scoring moments ago, trying to get a stop. Birch hangs on to it. He's going to keep it. He has an avenue. Can he get enough for the first? He's walloped, sandwiched, and brought down. He looks to be about 2 yards short. And so in all likelihood, the punt team will come on after the signal caller for the Gators takes quite a hit.
That's dangerous for Birch, as you see Pocket collapses, so he has to push forward. Does a nice job evading some defenders, and then we stop here. Trying to make too much out of that, just either kind of take a slide or, say, go out of bounds. Of course, you're trying to kill the clock more, so maybe a slide there for Birch would have been better. Close play, though. It's 4th down, and they're going to go for it.
Ball at the 35. They've got to get to the 37. Call it a long one or a short two, but it's right in that frame of reference. And now the Gators will take a timeout, as it looked as if they were trying to draw Penn Hills offsides, and in all likelihood, we'll see the punt team come on. Again, we have some clock issues. Clock continuing to run. Lost about 4 seconds there. So as we said, next week, Gateway travels on the road once again, be in the South Hills for Bethel Park and Gateway. Looking forward to that one very much. Be back with Adam Gusky for that one. Spencer, this won't be the last we see of you this season, which I'm glad to hear. Spencer and I will bring a few, I think 3 games in total.
I believe that is correct. I believe I'll be back for the Halloween Classic, or well, close to Halloween, late October, and then I believe also a game in the early November.
I tell you what, I'm starting to get a little worried about those later season games. It's already pretty chilly out here tonight. We both got the quarter zips on. Normally week 2, you're still in the polos and the khaki shorts, but it's probably at this point dipped down into the 50s, and it feels every bit of it. 4th down, they've kept the offense on the field once again. And now we do get a flag.
Flag on the field.
And now we see, did the Indians jump? Or did Gateway push themselves back? The Gators did.
It's a false start on Gateway, and doesn't really help the Gators now, is a 5-yard penalty. It's now going to be 4th and 6, which looks like the punt unit will come on. I believe it will, so take another look. Yeah, you see, I think it was 55 that moved first. We'll see on the replay here. See who flinches. Yeah, I believe, I don't know exactly. He saw his move his head. I'm not too familiar exactly as to what a false start is called when it comes to the offensive line. Is another high snap for Gateway.
Plankton able to get rid of this one, though. It's a decent kick, and it's fumbled. It's loose, but I believe the return man, Cochran, was able to get back onto it, and that could have been a disaster. There were about 3 white jerseys around that fumble, and Cochran managed to contort his body and fall on that ball as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Cochran's not going to talk about that one going to the bench. As you see on the replay, ball kind of goes to the left side of him instead of in front of him. He doesn't able to keep it in front he keeps it in front until that last second, where it goes to the side, and he hits off his fingers, and he is able to regain his composure for that split second and cover it up.
It was a bit of a wobbly kick. It wasn't your traditional end over end. It sort of had a sideways, kind of looked like a lame duck coming out of the sky. But Penn Hills retains possession. They'll take over at their 38-yard line, looking to build upon a stellar third quarter thus far. Duggar will take it. The design quarterback run will get a gain of at least 2.
Julian Duggar,
make it 3.
Tackled by number 21.
We've got another Gator down on the field. Not sure exactly who that is. Hard to see the number. Looks like it might be Manigault again. I'm not sure if he came back into the contest.
It's going to be 55. That's Matthew Brooks, who you saw Brooks kind of make the diving tackle, and a couple players actually were almost trampling on him too on the replay. We'll see if he is all right. Junior getting attended to.
Hopefully nothing serious for Brooks, who has been a contributor on both sides of the ball for the Gators thus far this season, playing well.
He's been Jaquan Reynolds' bodyguard, too, for the couple plays that Reynolds has been getting a little feisty with the Penn Hills players. it's that leadership, from guys like Brooks. You see him go out down like this, it's tough for Gateway.
So while Brooks gets attended to, we'll recap some of what we've seen thus far tonight. Our score currently 27-6. Gateway out in front of the Penn Hills Indians. First quarter, we saw a couple touchdown passes between Brad Birch to Patrick Bodie. The Syracuse recruit scored on touchdown passes of 38 and 27 yards. Made it 27-0 as we see Brooks get to his feet and walk off under his own power. Always a really great sign. And so we hope that, if nothing else, he's able to compete next week against Bethel Park as he gets some condolences and some congratulations from his teammates that he's up, he's moving. And let's hope that he is all right. So that made it 14-0, the 2 touchdown passes. Brad Birch kept it himself, ran it in from 5 yards out. Jaquan Reynolds added a rushing touchdown, and then Amir Rollins fell on the errant snap in the end zone. And that's where we're at, 27-6. Another scamper there. And Julian Duggar continuing to make it work on the ground. He got very close to a first down. Looks like they're going to mark him down about a yard short, so it'll be 3rd down and short, ball at the 47-yard line.
Again, designed run play with a convoy of blockers. I thought maybe Duggar had gotten that first, but his knee hit before he was able to extend that ball, so it is going to be 3rd and 1. It's that run play I think the offense for Penn Hills has been looking for. Now the question is, what can they do in the passing game? 3.5 minutes in this third quarter. You can't run every play and expect to try and win unless you get a very big run.
And a good keeper there. Duggar with a bit of room to run, hangs onto the ball. He's down inside the 35 down. So it looks like the 33-yard line. And Duggar, he needed a few, got a whole lot more than that. We have another injury out on the field. Looks like another Gator coming up limp. Oh, we actually have an Indians player down. Did look like it was either Aiden Smith or Carson Engelke. Definitely wasn't feeling his best self coming off of that play, but hopefully we just have a cramp here. So it looks like that might be Brendan Hill down there on the turf. Hill, a senior wide receiver for this Penn Hills offense.
Yeah, definitely a cramp from Hill, as we saw, was going to be helped up by the Gateway player, but he's saying I got to go down with this cramp and hobbling off the field. Looks like he'll be all right. He just needs to kind of work out that cramp.
So, a fresh set of downs. Penn Hills arguably playing like the better team here in this second half. See if the Gators can come up with a stop. They haven't allowed any points defensively thus far. As you see, training staff rolling out that cramp for Hill. He's in good spirits, and hopefully we'll see him back on the field here tonight. Still 15 minutes and change left overall in this contest as we are getting to the later stages of the third quarter. Duggar sets up in the gun. Low snap. He's going to hand this one off. That's Rollins. Rollins really didn't get too much of a head of steam before he was met in the backfield by Lewis Douglas.
Another flag on the play.
Perhaps some more extracurriculars after the play.
And that flag was thrown pretty late in that one as well, so we'll see exactly what the call is. It's going to be on Gateway, and yeah, I think it's going to be a late hit. Gateway didn't really like that call. We'll take another look at it. See the low snap. We see they give to Rollins. Rollins gets pulled down, and yeah, that's... I could see it. It's the helmet, I think, was the big issue. You see number 12 kind of leading with his helmet. It was 12 for Gateway, Aiden Smith, so.
Certainly a lot more emphasis on hits up around the head. So Smith and the penalty against the Gators sets Penn Hills up at the 18-yard line. They'll get it to Key. Key able to make a couple Gators miss, and he's down inside the 10-yard line, and he is pumped.
Key with a nice running back screen. He had 2 blockers with him, and they did just enough. And when I say just enough, I mean just enough on this blocking. Take a look. The guard and the tackle peel off on the low pass to Key. Good job keeping that one, and he just held off 2 Gateway Gators players to get Keys that extra yardage, and it's deep in Gateway territory.
Absolutely, and Duggar let go of that at probably the last possible moment that he could have. And so now we'll see. He'll keep it himself. Duggar down inside the 5, down to about the 3-yard line. He'll pick up 4 on first down and goal. We'll see some more extracurriculars down around the goal line. Gators are gesturing as if they want a penalty. It will not come. And so it will be 2nd and goal at the 3-yard line. And Spencer, we've seen a much different Penn Hills team in this third quarter.
I know it's frustrating for Gateway. And you see, I don't think that number 11, Demetrius Harper, should have gotten a penalty for him. He thought he was expecting that late hit from a blocker for Penn Hills. Yeah, this is a completely different Indians team, and it's a Gateway team that's almost shooting themselves in the foot a little bit too much. But I stop that one on 2nd down.
Now Lewis Douglas stacking things up at the line of scrimmage. This defense for Gateway, we haven't seen any team have a whole lot of success running right down the middle.
3rd and goal.
Now, Vince, I got to ask you, since you were there a couple weeks back, how much of this game feels like the makings of Delaware Valley? Does it seem like that compared to what we're seeing on the Penn Hills side, where the Gators were up early and then Delaware Valley kind of chipped away at the lead and caused Gateway to stumble a little bit?
Well, we'll certainly visit that here in a second as Duggar gets down close to the end zone, but he's brought down just inside the 1 here, as that may very well be the last play of this third quarter. We'll see if the Indians get another one in. But Spencer, to answer your question, the Delaware Valley game, Coach Hall was quoted as saying that he felt his team mentally sort of just lapsed, just left points on the field, checked out, and you have to wonder if some of that is happening here, if a team that's up 27-0 gets a little bit content. And I think that's one of those mental blocks that's hard for any team to work through, but certainly something that it's going to be very interesting. That's a storyline to watch here in these last 12 minutes as we do head to our final quarter of play, or at least we seem to believe so, but Penn Hills doing their darndest to make sure that that's not the case. They're threatening here to make this a 2-score game. If they can score here on this next play and get a stop, all of a sudden this starts to become a little more interesting, Spencer.
Yeah, it's must point points up for the Indians, and I think it has to be a touchdown here. You cannot go for the chip shot field goal. You need to get yourself in double digits, bring yourself within or within single digits potentially, if you get another stop on the Gators, who have had some issues on offense, and a couple of drives have not even faltered because they didn't even really start for the Gators, and I think that has been a problem for Gateway, especially in this third quarter.
Yeah, and you've got 4th down upcoming, Spencer. What are you dialing up if you're Coach John Ladon for the Penn Hills Indians?
I think it's going to be that halfback option, and I think you're going to tell Duggar either you give it or you kick it and roll out to the right. Find yourself, see what the defense is giving you, and then work with that. And I think, it's a 1-yard gain. I expect them to roll out, and I expect Gateway to stack the box. I would keep someone home, though. I would keep someone on that edge home for the Gateway Gators, making sure he doesn't roll out.
Well, we'll see it. They're in the I formation. They're going to go with the quarterback sneak. They get a good push. Is Duggar into the end zone? No signal yet. They'll get to the bottom of the pile, and now they'll signal. It's a Penn Hills touchdown, and now it is a 2-possession game, or rather, no, it is. It is a 2-possession game when you factor in the opportunity for 2-point conversions. Though on this one, they will send out the place kicker to try and make this one a 14-point game. Take another look there at Duggar just plowing his way in. And now we've got the extra point upcoming. Duggar on the hold. Charlie Rosenmeyer's kick. This one is up, and that is perfect. So Jaden Duggar with the good hold. Rosenmeyer sends it through. And we've got ourselves a little more interesting of a game.
And taking a look at the quarterback keeper for Duggar, the quarterback sneak. Good job by that offensive line, just giving him enough to push forward and get that touchdown. So 27-13 real quick. I just want to say I think that this is the biggest drive of this game for the Gators. I think you need to at least kill 4 or 5 minutes at the best, or at the worst, I should say, potentially, and you need to march down the field a little bit for Gateway, make Penn Hills have less and less time to get themselves back in it. But Penn Hills is, I mean, I wouldn't say they're looking like the better team. I'm not going to necessarily go that far right now, but they are looking like the team that wants to win this one more than Gateway right now, and they're doing everything they can.
Gators will have an opportunity to drive the proverbial nail into the coffin here. They still control their own destiny in this one. 11:55 left in the contest, up by 2 touchdowns, and they will receive the ball. Kick is off. That one will sail over the 2 return men and into the end zone, and so the ball will be placed at the 20-yard line, and the Gators will have plenty of field to work with as they look to wind down this clock and potentially put a few more points on the board.
That was a good kick from the place kicker for Penn Hills, as deep as we've seen all night, and yeah, Gateway not able to work with that. They're stuck on the 20-yard line instead. We've seen them in their own territory have trouble. Holdings, personal fouls have been issues for the third quarter. How will they play in the fourth quarter? And I think, like you mentioned, if you're the head coach, Don Hall for Gateway, calm your players down, 1 play at a time, and just get some positive yardage and keep moving forward.
We'll go to the ground on first down, and it's Reynolds once again. Reynolds breaking tacklers left and right, gets up toward the 40-yard line. And now another late flag. Laundry everywhere. Every official tossing the flags out. Spencer, I think you got a better look on that. What'd you see down there?
Well, it's gonna go on Gateway for the second hit there. It almost looked like a punch, to be honest. I'd be pretty dangerous for an ejection potentially. I think they're going to talk things over for that. On Gateway, we saw a flag on the near side of the field here thrown near the end of the play. I think that was from those 2 players as well. Yeah, I believe it was a holding on Penn Hills that was declined. And then there was another personal foul.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
The unsportsmanlike conduct on Penn Hills is the reason for that one. So taking a look on the run, you're not going to see the hold, but a nice run from Reynolds.
Let's see if we see what caused the flag. I don't see it, but as it stands, it was a personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct against Penn Hills, and a sideline warning as well, which that first flag along the barrier towards us was for Reynolds. A nice cutback run there. He's able to find another crease. And again, another flag along the sidelines.
And we'll see what the ref there had a view of on this one. I didn't see anything from the quick vantage point, but he had a better look, and we'll see what it is. Oh, penalties are hurting.
Yeah.
We didn't have too many in that first half, other than a few here and there, and now it seems like every other play has been a penalty in this fourth quarter. Another look. Going to be a penalty on Penn Hills.
Sideline warning. Penn Hills.
Sideline warning on Penn Hills.
So I believe that's all we'll get is the sideline warning. Tough to decipher sometimes. It's kind of like playing a tricky game of charades from 40, 50 yards out. Reynolds gets the carry, though, on 2nd and short, and that will be enough to move the chains. And so all you need to know is that the ball is at the 34-yard line. The Gators are threatening once again. Though all of these penalties have brought the clock to a bit of a halt, so this drive has only taken about 30 seconds, give or take. And And so we creep down towards the 11-minute mark.
Yeah, it's the silver lining, I think, for Penn Hills if Gateway does march down the field and scores. The fact that, like you said, they're not using much clock.
They'll keep it on the ground, though. Reynolds, again, finding a lot of room to work with before being met inside the 25-yard line. And that's going to move the chains once again. Reynolds, well on his way to a 100-yard day. This is the first time this season we've really seen an established ground game for the Gators. And as that season rolls on and the weather gets colder and more inclement, it's going to be important to be able to not only establish the running game, but just to throw defenses something and say, you can't just game plan for this one facet. We can throw other things at you. So once again, a fresh set of downs here. 24-yard line. Gators knocking on the door of the red zone once again. They'll hand it to Reynolds again. And he'll get a nice push. Met a crowd at about the 21-yard line and forced his way forward to the 19 where the play will be called dead. So forward progress will net him 5 yards. I'm going to say the 20.
Watch the top of your screen. See more contact from number 11 and number 4 for Gateway and Penn Hills. That's Jaden Duggar and Patrick Bodie Jr., who have been talking things over these past couple plays. We've seen a lot of pushing for a wide receiver and a cornerback. I have to wonder, when is the flag going to be thrown if it does again, as the referees have even talked things over with both of them.
Reynolds again. This time he breaks every tackle on his way to the end zone. A 20-yard scamper. He would not be denied. And that one may just do it. That'll make it a 20-point game pending the extra point.
It's a good run for Reynolds as he cuts back to his right. And we've seen Reynolds really had some nice runs so far this evening as people are starting to head out, it looks like, here for Penn Hills. But 33, potentially 34 here, 13 is this one pretty much not over yet. I mean, 9 minutes left, but that was a much needed drive for Gateway.
Crisp, clearly looked like the team with better execution. And so, with 9:43 left, the lead goes back to 21, and the Gators gain a little momentum back. Coach Hall going to be happy to see that. And so, we prepare for another kickoff. A lot of special teams plays tonight. 47 combined points between these two crosstown rivals. Both of these teams that we fully anticipate will be playing into November, Spencer. Teams that met in the playoffs last season. Teams that have aspirations again this year. And you know, honestly, the path to the playoffs becomes a whole lot easier for 18 teams when 12 make it as opposed to 8 last year. All you got to do is finish in that top 2/3, the top 4 out of 6 in most divisions. So, Jaquan Reynolds with 2 rushing touchdowns tonight. Brad Birch with 1. Bodie with 2 via Birch over the air. Most points we've seen the Gators put up this season. Kick is off. Plaxon puts it down at about the 10. Rollins will take it, makes a few miss, still on his feet. A crackback block over the 30. That's going to get called. You're not allowed to do that anymore. And so this one will be coming back as, you know, 5-10 years ago you could, as players used to say, earhole someone, but can't blindside block anymore, as we have a Penn Hills player down around the 40-yard line, as there were a bunch of pretty heavy collisions on that one.
Yeah, and you understand it's so tempting to have that block when you got a defender trailing the kick returner, but you have to just let him go or just kind of step in front of him more than just putting that hit on him, and you'll see referee moving the flag to initiate where it was exactly. Taking their look, was another decent run from the kick return, who's had some pretty good ones tonight, and you see that crackback block right on Gateway player. I didn't catch exactly which number it was for Penn Hills, but take a look at it here.
Yeah, you said that those are tempting. They certainly are. I've been on both sides of those playing a little bit of high school football. The one side laying the boom feels pretty good. Being on the other side of that, not so much. But certainly we hope whoever it is that's down, we're not really able to see a number. We do see the player moving those feet. That's always the first thing you sort of go to, right? You just want to make sure that person has mobility, is able to move all their appendages, and then from there you assess what the damage might look like. But certainly hoping that that young man is able to get up and, if not continue tonight, be able to continue his season moving forward. As it stands, have to sort out all of the penalties. It looks like the ball is placed right now at the 13-yard line after the illegal block.
Yeah, things have definitely gotten a lot more chippy here, no doubt, throughout this stadium and throughout this field, as Penn Hills player still down, and looks serious too for.
As we said, for the Indians, their schedule does not let up. They have some tough tests ahead. Woodland Hills with Deontay Williams. That will be a tough task next week. They play Upper St. Clair afterwards and then have to take on the defending state champs Pine Richland to open conference play. And so for a team with playoff aspirations, and we saw their section has some upstart teams that we didn't necessarily think we'd see sitting at that 2-0 marker. We'll see what happens. It's just fun to be able to have this season back, to see games being completed, to have the full crowds again, the student sections, the band, even the smell of the concessions wafting up. It's all good to have all of these things back, and certainly excited here, the Gateway Football Network, to bring you all the action. Hopefully another season that goes well into November. We're getting word that we are about 90% sure that for the Indians that might be Kedrick Starkley.
Yeah, I don't think we saw on the replay exactly what happened with Starkey, is that was kind of a little farther away from that play. I believe it's, we'll see. I can't tell exactly. Good to see that he's getting up, though, at least, and going to be helped off. It's 45 is Khalil Cotton, junior, was the one who was holding his chest. He's in a lot of pain right now.
Well, regardless, as we try to get a better angle, luckily that young man up and moving, aware of where he's at, and certainly we hope he feels better soon. As it stands, 1st and 10, the Indians will start their drive in the shadow of their own end zone at the 13. It's a low snap, broken play. Duggar just going to let this one go down the field, has a man, and that one in and out of the hands twice. Chase Barney almost took the lid off of this place and wouldn't have been gone, but certainly would have flipped the field for the Indians there. But that was a tough catch.
Yeah, most excited we think we've seen this crowd after that touchdown, especially. We see him getting a step in. That's a perfectly placed ball right away from the defender. Barney goes up for it. Good defense. I think someone might have gotten a hand. I think 21 did get a hand on that one. That was Kenny Lewis. So good play from him. And Barney's going to be kicking himself after this one. Not able to haul that in. That would have been huge progress for Penn Hills in this 4th quarter.
So they're stuck at the 13, time becoming a factor. 9:25 left in the 4th quarter. Duggar rolls out, is able to get the edge, throws this one down the field, but no one's home. Not sure if we'll get intentional grounding. And we will. There was really no one in the vicinity that pass. Duggar throws his hands in disgust. Good pressure there by Demetrius Harper. Forced that internal clock to speed up for Duggar. That's going to be a loss of down. And that's going to make things increasingly more difficult here, as that will turn this to 3rd down and 10 at the 13. Take another look. No one really there whatsoever.
He throws it one out of the play, and you see Gateway is wanting the call. They want the flag thrown. And you see the ref coming in, rolling in, saying, yep, throw it, throw it. That is exactly what is going to be the call, intentional grounding. So 3rd and 10 for the Indians. Pretty deep in their own zone as well on the 3-yard line, a 10-yard penalty. Going from the 13 to the 3.
So tough sledding for Penn Hills here. Not only they need to get the ball to about the 24-yard line, but they risk getting down for a safety in their own territory. They're down 21. Time is of the essence. We'll see what they draw up here. See if Duggar can find some space with either the arm or the legs. Drops back to pass. Steps up in the pocket. Now he'll roll. He's going to run, gets a block around the edge, but that's only going to get him to about the 15-yard line. Call it a gain of 12, but unfortunately, he needed 21.
And well covered by Gateway. Nothing that Duggar could do. He scanned his options, looked around, was trying to get the check down, but that was so well covered that Duggar just had to take it himself and was hoping for a little bit more of a block, and unfortunately, he was only able to get just that little block there. And several Gateway players storming. Nice stiff arm, though, but pushed out of bounds, and it's 4th down. And the punting unit will be on for Penn Hills.
Bodie in pursuit there, able to push the ball carrier out of bounds, and so the punt now off. Will take a bounce, fielded in Gateway territory by Brett Birch, and he's pushed backwards to around the 35-yard line. That's where they will mark him down as they start yet another offensive possession, looking to put more points on the board, or at least take this clock down to triple zeros. Jaquan Reynolds scored his 2nd touchdown on the last possession. Take another look at the punt return.
And we see fielding that one off the bounce, Brett Birch, and several Penn Hills players swarming forward. Maybe he might have tried to step up and just take the fair catch, but instead he fields it off the bounce. Was trying to make something out of nothing, but like most times, it results in nothing due to the fact that it was nothing.
So 65 yards to pay dirt for the Gators. They take over 3 receivers set. Reynolds the lone back. Play action. Birch going to go for the home run ball on this one. And for the 3rd time tonight, he's intercepted. And if I'm not mistaken, for the 3rd time tonight, throwing up the signal to us to confirm it, DeAndre Cochran.
That's probably one of the worst passes we've seen, unfortunately, for Bradley Birch tonight. Taking their look. Someone not on the same page, as it's nowhere near the intended receiver, Patrick Bodie Jr., and one of the easiest interceptions that we'll see from Cochran is he just had to trail a bit to his left and make the catch in stride.
So Cochran with the rare hat trick when it comes to interceptions tonight. He'll set up the offensive unit for Penn Hills at the 36-yard line. So they get another crack at it here with 8 minutes, 50 seconds left. Still certainly a decent amount of time left in this one, but Indians are going to have to get this offense rolling quickly if they're going to try and get back into this one, or at least within striking distance. And unfortunately, their most effective means of transportation on offense has been the ground game, but you almost certainly have to abandon that here at this point, midway through the 4th. They will fake the handoff, though. Duggar rolls out. He's pressured by Harper once again, and once again he throws it into no man's land. And again, the sidelines looking for that intentional grounding call. There may have been a few receivers close enough in the vicinity, but we are seeing a conference from the officials around the 30-yard line.
Look, I think they are going to keep it at what it is. It looks like it is. There was, like you said, a couple receivers in the vicinity.
That's putting it kindly. Yeah, but they
mean,
were closer than they were the last time.
It's a lot more generous. It's a very 50-50 call. I understand the argument from Gateway, but I also understand why the referees decided not to call it.
Indians will burn their second timeout here. Something was not the way that it should have been. And so they have just one remaining here for the final 8 minutes and 43 seconds of this contest, trailing by 3 scores. A little Sweet Caroline coming over the speakers. We are back into the thick of things here on the WPIAL Trib Live High School Sports Network. Make sure to tune in Fridays and even Saturday afternoons. It's going to be a great fall. There's already been a lot of great contests, a lot of great storylines, teams, and just very excited that football is back in swing, and high school sports in general are back in swing. And for all of our Gateway fans and Gateway parents, keep in mind that the Gateway Network will be bringing you more than just football this fall. Spencer, you already were on the call the other night for some volleyball. So we'll have a decent amount of coverage throughout this fall for all your Gateway Gators sports. Flag on the play as this one gets started. That one right through the hands of the intended receiver. It looks like that was Santana Levy, the sophomore. False start upcoming, so that'll push the Indians backwards. And so it'll be second down and 20 now.
We'll look at this one. Like you mentioned before, another high throw. Had the man open, but Duggar just missing the target. Been a tough night for Duggar. Has had some flashes, has had some highlights, especially in the run game, but passing has had some issues for the young quarterback for Penn Hills.
Duggar back to pass once again, has time, has a man deep. That would have been a tough catch over the shoulders, but it's in and out of the breadbasket. That one headed over toward the sidelines for Brendan Hill. And again, in and out of the hands. Carson Engelke in coverage. He came over from the safety position to ensure that no one was behind him. Take another look.
Engelke in good coverage, and like you said, it needed to be almost a perfect throw and a perfect catch for number 22. And it was a very good throw. The right shoulder is where he was supposed to throw it to, and he did, away from Engelkirk. And just out of the hands of Brendan Hill. And I think you need to be maybe an inch or two closer to Hill, and it's hauled in. So, again, still a pretty good throw, though, at that.
And so now it's 3rd and 15, and Duggar going nowhere fast. Matthew Brooks got shaken up earlier, stayed in the game, and then comes in there and gets the sack, pushes the Indians back far enough that they are going to have to bring the punt unit on once again.
They have Hunter Dow on the left side of the screen getting around the defenders as well as Brooks, who rushes in. So nowhere for Duggar to go as he tried to roll to his left because he couldn't go to his right, but Brooks was right there for him.
So it'll be Charlie Rosemeyer once again.
Rosemeyer didn't look like he was ready. I don't think he expected to be punting. He didn't even have his helmet on. He had to strap it on while he was going over there.
And gets this one off, though. It's a high winding kick. It'll bounce and take a slightly favorable bounce for the Gators as they'll get the ball in enemy territory for the upteenth time again tonight. And they'll start this possession at about the 48-yard line of Penn Hills. 7:24 left here in our final quarter of play. As we said, Penn Hills heads off to take on Woodland Hills next week. You can keep it with us here, as the Gateway Football Network will have the Bethel Park Blackhawks and the Gateway Gators next week in the South Hills over at Bethel Park. See what the approach is here for the Gators. They'll keep it on the ground on first down. Reynolds, another nice hole, is able to push the pile a little bit farther. This play's still going, still no whistle. So that'll be a gain of about 7 on first down. Another decent run for Reynolds, who has really emerged as the primary ball carrier for this Gateway Gators club.
Yeah, 34-13 with 7 minutes remaining. You're expecting pretty much all these plays for Gateway to be runs to wind the clock down as much as they can for the Gators, trying to wrap things up here late in the fourth quarter.
And Reynolds gets it once again, dances away from a few would-be tacklers, and then gets taken down inside the 35. By that point, got past the sticks, and so it'll be first down and 10 once again for the Gators.
Another good run from Reynolds, who has had a lot of good runs in the second half. He dances away from a couple would-be tacklers, like you mentioned. Penn Hills there to pull him down, though. But again, clock's still moving. Approaching 6 minutes now in the fourth quarter.
Ball at the 34 officially. As we reach the halfway point of this fourth quarter, Gateway well ahead. They'll pull it out, go with the quarterback keeper. Birch surveyed the field, was looking for someone to get the ball to down the field. Good coverage by Penn Hills, and so he had to pull that one down, but is sacked back at the 38-yard line. Call that a loss of 4, second down and 14.
Good coverage by Penn Hills, and smart play by Birch as he knows that doesn't really have much to work with, so just puts the ball against him and takes the hits and takes the sack. 5.5 minutes in this quarter.
Gators coming off a 5-1 campaign in which they were upended in the WPIAL semifinals by Peters Township. There's a bit of miscommunication there. Coach Hall not happy, has to burn a timeout. Indians coming off of a 4-4 campaign, including a 4-1 record within their section. They bowed out of the playoffs in the quarterfinal round facing these Gateway Gators, lost 14-0. We'll see if these two teams not only make it to the playoffs again this year, but perhaps find themselves slated to take on each other once again. Last season's contest took place at Anti-Marino Stadium in Monroeville, and now we're just down the road here in Penn Hills.
I think this definitely is a teachable game for Penn Hills, 34-13, and it was the first half was just too much for the Indians, and the one score that they really earned, I think, was well earned for Penn Hills. The running game really had started to get going, and I think as this season progresses, I feel like Duggar will become a lot better with his passing ability as well as his ability to scramble as a quarterback.
So 2nd and 14 now for the Gators. They'll hand it back to Reynolds. Reynolds with a full head of steam is going to gain back a decent amount of that yardage. Looks like he'll get down to about the 31-yard line. So needed 14 for the first down, got 7, sets up a 3rd and manageable upcoming for the Gators. This is the 45th anniversary of Penn Hills' first WPIAL championship. Some may recall that are tuning in. It was a 23-14 victory over Butler in the 1976 Class AAA Finals. Started a streak of 4 straight WPIAL titles. It's Reynolds, again, finding a seam. He gets close to first down yardage, but looks like he might be about a half-yard short. Now decision-making time here. Do you bring the field goal unit out? Do you keep the offense on? what exactly do you do?
I've been impressed with Jaquan Reynolds, especially in the second half, as he's able to get to the second level for the Gators on pretty much them just chewing the clock and pushing and extending this drive, or potentially trying to. It's 4th and 1. Burning a lot of time for the Gators.
More interesting tidbits about those 4 WPIAL titles in the 70s for Penn Hills. The second one was shared 7-7, tie with Butler, and the 4th one was actually vacated for using an ineligible player. A little bit of history for everyone. Certainly 2 very historic programs here in the WPIAL. Very storied pasts and a long, long history of these 2 teams doing battle here in the eastern suburbs of Pittsburgh. Both of these teams mainstays in the playoffs. Penn Hills specifically has made the playoffs 7 of the past 8 seasons, 21 of the past 23. The Gators under Don Hall recently, simply incredible. 51-13 his head coaching record. Gators looking for their 3rd WPIAL title in 5 years after taking the title in 17 and 19. They are about 3 minutes and 46 seconds of game clock away from going to 2-1 on the season, as they continue, both of these teams really, to tune up for their respective conference play. 4th and 1, they'll keep it on the ground with Reynolds. Reynolds dances, looks like he got a bit of a push, and he will get enough for the first down. Needed 1, got about 4. And so this clock will continue to wind down towards the 3-minute mark.
Another good run by Reynolds. Even had a great block as well for Gateway. Lewis Douglas, 43, nice block to give Reynolds some room to work with and get the first down.
So the ball to 22 now. High snap. Reynolds gets it. A little less running room that time. He'll gain 2 down to the 20-yard line. He's met with force there. As it looks like number 24 for the Indians, Matthew Lemon, came up with the tackle. Fans starting to make their way to the exit to enjoy the remainder of their Friday night as it bleeds into Saturday.
I know we've talked about it before, but chilly weekend, especially for early September. This is fall weather, this is football weather, and you love to see weather like this. Just a little bit too early, though.
Reynolds on the carry.
I agree with you there.
Down in the backfield by number 4, Amir Key. Ladies and gentlemen,
Key goes backwards. He ends up back at the 22-yard line. 3rd and 11 upcoming. Not much to speak to left in this one. Clock continues to wind. Gators going to move to 2-1 on the season. Penn Hills going to remain winless. But as we said, both of these teams not yet into their section play.
We talked about it before. I think they went 4-1 last season. Is deep ball just deflected, but oh, was that caught?
It was.
Oh my goodness, what a catch.
Unbelievable. And in the back of the end zone, it's number 43 for the Gators. That's Lewis Douglas, the tight end. Had the little shuttle pass earlier in the game, but hadn't really factored into much offensively. But they'll go over the top. Let's take another look.
Lewis Douglas in the backfield, and he'll peel off from his block and go towards the end zone. 2 defenders on him. Key got a tip on it, and it rolled around a couple times, and I think it was a fight for it between Micaiah Massey and Douglas was the one coming out on the victor. It was a beautiful play by Douglas to haul that in after having to fight for it with that defensive back for Penn Hills to seal the deal. Take another look at this one. You'll watch it gets tipped by Key. which actually helps Douglas in this play because then he's able to catch it on the left side of his shoulder. And yeah, that's definitely a catch as it kind of rolled away from 26 and rolled right into the arms of Douglas.
So Micaiah Massey tried his darndest there on the coverage, but an absolutely incredible grab there by Lewis Douglas, and that extends the lead to 41-13. And so the Gators lost a little bit of focus, lost a little bit of momentum coming out of the half. They have maintained the lead that they built in the first half. They've actually built onto it by a point, and so they lead now by 28. And we got 94 seconds left in this one before we close the book on yet another installment in this rivalry game. Not one that we'll remember quite as fondly as the one-point championship win that Gateway secured in 2019 against this Penn Hills program. But always fun when these two teams get together. So that'll be the place kicker Cole Plaxon sending this one deep. Bounces at the 20 and is corralled at about the 12-yard line. Moving up the field, looks like that is Cochran. Cochran takes it up towards the 30, and that's where Penn Hills will go to work as the clock continues to run. Finally stops at 1:22. Normally, you see the home press box stopping that clock a little early, not too late. But nonetheless, not much left to play for in this one. A chance to maybe get a few subs in and a chance to salt this one away. Penn Hills looking to see if they can get one last drive down the field, put a few more points on the board, gain a little momentum going into next week's matchup against the Woodland Hills Wolverines.
I was talking before that pass for the touchdown, how Penn Hills finished about 500 last season, but they went 4-1 in their section. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like we talk about those section games and how important they are, the conference games, I should say, how important they are. This is, again, a learning curve for Penn Hills going into conference play.
Dump off, little screen pass there. That's Rollins. Rollins gains a couple. And Spencer, you're absolutely right. I mean, at the end of the day, there's some coaches around the WPIAL that call this the preseason, practically. Certainly the games do matter, and I tend to think they factor into seeding decisions and where you might end up as far as your playoff opponent, but you win your section games and you're in. Penn Hills could lose all these non-conference, win every conference game, and you find yourself in the playoffs. So 2nd and 7, they'll pitch this one toward the sideline, and the ball carrier being dragged out of bounds is Rollins once again. He gets up close to first down yardage. They will mark him down at the 38, and they will usher the chain gang forward, so that is a first down. Good second effort there by Rollins.
Yeah, he had to fight against that player for Gateway, 43, Lewis Douglas, and Rollins was able to win that battle and earn himself the first down. Earn himself a couple yards, excuse me, and the first down.
So 14 seconds left. This will likely be the last play of the game. Julian Duggar rolls out, rips off a huge gain, and ensures that I am emphatically wrong on that one as the clock stops with 7.1 seconds left. An excellent run there by Duggar, who hasn't had necessarily the best evening through the air, but certainly has done a great job running the football tonight.
And he can fly, as you see there. He's had a couple bursts on the run game. We talked about through the air has had some issues, which I think will be worked on over the next couple weeks for the Indians.
But you know what, Spencer, he's a sophomore. If he can figure that part of his game out and hone in that accuracy. We saw some glimpses, that pass along the sidelines, albeit a little too far. If he can consistently put that together, then they've really got something special here in this young man. But he will take a knee on that one, and this will bring the game to a close. Hugs, high fives, and handshakes as both teams go to meet at midfield, and that'll put a bow on this contest. 41-13, your final. Gateway pulls away and blows out Penn Hills to move to 2-1 on the season, while Penn Hills drops to 2. Spencer, give us some of your final takeaways from tonight's contest.
Well, I think we'll start with Penn Hills. It's, like I said, a learning curve for the Indians. I think that this is a game that they showed glimpses of the ability for them to really play well against tough teams like Gateway, top of the conference, top of the WPIAL as expected for the Gators. And on the other side, for the Gators, they played very well, exactly what they wanted to see both on offense and defense. They had some issues in that third quarter, especially with the mental game. Playing against Penn Hills, who had a chip on their shoulder coming out of halftime. They were able to clean things up, though, and they performed mightily and well in that fourth quarter.
Super excited for the rest of the season, especially going to Bethel Park next week. So if you are the Gators, what's something that you're looking to take away from this contest? Or what's something you think this team can improve upon, even though this was a 28-point win?
Well, 28-point win, I think, again, the mental game, when you're up like that, letting Penn Hills get back into this game, even though the points aren't there, the fact that they were allowed to, it shows that just a couple plays that go for a Bethel Park team or a team that has struggled in this season or struggled against Gateway could bring them right back in and give problems to Gateway.
And finally, Jaquan Reynolds, finally the emergence of a consistent running game. Seemed as the game went on, he ran harder, found more room to run. And that offensive line really allowed Birch to have some time tonight. Barely got touched in the backfield, sacked a few times, held on to the ball. You could argue they were coverage sacks. A good day for the offensive line, a good day for Reynolds. What does that mean for this Gateway offense?
Well, I think it really helps the fact that we saw Gateway through the air at the beginning of this game really work things out. So when they were able to get both the running game and the passing game worked out, it really helps for the Gators, especially Reynolds. And like you were saying, I was impressed with Reynolds, especially in that fourth quarter. It seemed like he was running angry after having some confrontations with a couple players, but I think after that he really put his head down and was running like the way that he has been known to run.
Well, that will do it for us here tonight at the Gateway Football Network. Your final score, once again, Gateway 41, and for the Penn Hills Indians, just 13. They move to 2-1 and go to take on Bethel Park next week. We'll have that action for you. Adam Gusky and myself will be there. Spencer will join us later in the season, but he will also have some additional Gateway coverage throughout the fall with volleyball and some other sports. So stay tuned in. Keep an eye on everything. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. There's going to be a lot of great stuff coming this fall. But again, signing off for tonight on behalf of our entire crew that has done such a wonderful job bringing this production to you tonight. For Spencer Witt, I'm Vince Russo, and we'll catch you all again next week.